All right, and we are live. I'm double checking right now, making sure all the audio should be coming through. If you guys would say something.
Hello, hello.
All right,
We're
that's
saying things.
looking green. That's looking green, and we've already got some memberships thrown into the chat. Now that is exciting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, already. I was looking at it, it's like, God damn, guys, you don't waste any time.
Robert Glendinning and Shark Jumping Walrus. Thank you so much, and I hope everyone enjoys being caught in that. Enjoy your 4 unique emojis, which again I was not prepared for the amount of love that we ended up getting. So I really need to get on myself, not only getting more emojis, but also upgrading the ones that we have, because I wanted to make them all animated like the Rage one.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure, does it animate? It should animate. It allows you to upload GIFs, but it doesn't look like it animates, which sucks. I wish it animated. I spent a lot of time animating that.
He did. He walked me through the process.
I've also actually updated my Patreon to reflect the new ranking system, which is great. That's fun. We've got some Sparrows first Talon in the... Oh, I'm getting called? Who is calling me?
God.
Why is my dad calling me in the stream? I'm not answering that. I'm not answering that on stream.
I mean, you could probably just mute, right? And just,
I am so lost right now as to where everything is. I don't know where I would mute.
Okay.
I would have to mute myself on Streamlabs and on Discord, and I'm just like, I'm not.
Yeah, just 3 levels of the stuff.
Yeah.
But anyways, though,
yes.
Once again, this is the Team Jack podcast.
Yes. Hello, I'm your host, Remy McNeil. Joining me, as always, is the wonderful Twilight Guardian.
Hello.
And the miniature Kaiser Shonen.
I have the tallest PNG tuber out of the 3 of us. What are you talking about?
I don't know why. I reloaded the random adjective generator and it only gave me the one. And you know what the next one was when I refreshed the page to check? Puny. So take your pick.
It's great that we got those 2 out of the way, because we don't want those in 2 streams in a row.
You know what we can call him now? We can use the miniature one next week, because we can call him the graduated Kaiser Shonen.
Oh, we can.
Yeah.
My boy has a degree now.
Well, almost. Well, it'll have to be the week after next week. Because my graduation will be at next Saturday. But yeah, I'm finally getting my bachelor's, which is great.
Ooh, that'll be during Unicorns of Balinor.
Oh my god.
No, they can't know that we have a plan for what that stream is.
What, that we're actually getting organized for once in our lives?
We got because we can't let them know that we've never been organized, and we're only organized now. Makes us look bad.
You've already done that.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah, you already let that slip more than once.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry, this isn't. This is not a well-kept secret.
Not that kind of graduation titan, I swear to God.
But yes. Graduated. I didn't know you were a VTuber.
God fucking damn it.
Celtic, is
Watch
your
out for
Patreon
Will
like Mr.
Smith
Popo's
in your-
pecking order? No, I am far kinder to my patrons than Mr. Popo is. Don't worry, guys. I'm not going to be mean to you.
Yeah, I mean, for one thing,
that's
he's not
Twi's
doing
job.
blackface, so oh my god.
And here you were, like, telling me last week that I shouldn't refer to myself as the mean one.
That's right, because it's my job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kidding.
But not to the patron specifically.
Oh,
that is true.
Do you? You missed my question, so I'll ask again. Do you have a release date for Fixing RWBY Volume 7? I do, in fact, have a release date for Fixing RWBY Volume 7. I'm not sharing it quite yet.
I need
Alright.
to do my drawings.
Yep. Also, you need to understand, I get really sick of hearing that question. I am actually happy to have an answer, but I am not looking forward to when's Volume 8? When's Volume 2 remastered?
Now, dude,
I'm already getting Volume 2 remastered, for the record. I'm already getting questions like that.
Yeah, you're suffering from what was it? Team 4-Star suffered, which is called When Broly.
Yeah. And don't apologize, Aiden. You couldn't know. It's just you gotta, whenever you see a bigger YouTuber or any YouTuber really, and they have a popular series, they're getting asked that question all the time. When Justice League movie crossover? I don't know. I gotta pick that up at some point.
Well, like I've seen people ask you that question like all the time in JYCT stream, in the live chat, or in the comment sections, in Bad Fanfiction Night, in your regular videos,
in the Tundra.
I see it everywhere.
Yeah, it's
in the Tundra.
Yeah, Raymond, this is what you get for being active. What are you doing?
Yeah, I should be a YouTuber that just rests on his laurels and absorbs all the money people are paying him.
Like me, except for the last part.
Do you guys think RWBY Volume 10 will ever actually happen? That's a complicated question. I honestly, I have no idea what the state of the RWBY IP is in Viz's hands. I don't know what they intend to do with it.
Right.
No idea.
Yeah, no idea.
I mean, I would imagine that it's possible for them to get Volume 10 off the ground. Honestly, I think it would depend on, like, a lot of different things, because, you do have, whether we think that it's garbage or not, it is still a fairly popular franchise. I think that it doesn't deserve, all the popularity that it has. It mostly has it because
I would imagine that Viz wouldn't be willing to, like, pick it up if they weren't going to do something with it.
I think a lot of people theorize that we're gonna get books, but I feel like that's likelier than
that is too cruel and funny to be true. So I'm gonna be hopeful.
Well, actually, that was gonna be my idea, that because it's Viz and because RWBY already has manga for it, that instead of putting a lot of money into this show that Miles and Carrie admitted hasn't actually been making money for a long time because they don't know how to do this properly. But instead of doing that and knowing that they're going to operate possibly at a loss, especially because RWBY has been so tumultuous lately, that they would finish the series as manga and then possibly down the line reboot it.
Yeah. Was it Miss Tech Master says, new idea. Every time someone asks for when next RWBY, you delay it a month. Dude, I could delay it a day and it would never come out. Miss Tech and Aiden, don't worry. Miss Tech Master is poking fun at just the general zeitgeist. He's not poking fun at you directly. It's a ribbing. It's a little bit okay. Just don't take it personally.
Okay, Axel says, do people even still read books in this day and age? Yes, a lot of people do. Just because you don't, because you're illiterate. I'm sorry. No, that was
my
mean.
God.
Oh, wow.
Okay, you're
Twy!
too new.
Twy! You immediately like, well, I thought you said you didn't want me to be the mean. This is why people call you the mean one.
Yeah, congratulations.
I leaned into it on purpose that time.
That was great. Great delivery.
God damn, bro.
I couldn't even finish the joke. But actually, this is something that I was going to suggest that we talk about at some point on JYCT stream, is the state of reading in nowadays, and how TikTok in particular has been kind of ruining people's reading experiences. Because Like, there's a big YouTuber that has talked about this, that I've followed for a while, Rachel Oates. She's talked about, like, people reading on TikTok and all of these, like, really terrible trends that people do. Like, they get actively mad that there is, like, prose. They want a book to be nothing but dialogue.
Yeah.
Like, that's an
I think
interesting
you've sent me that
avant-garde
video
idea,
before.
but
It's interesting.
I don't know how tenable it is to have an entire book that's just dialogue. That seems like some really artsy-fartsy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're like, well, why do I need to know all of this stuff, like their thoughts and their feelings and their relationships? I just want the dialogue.
What the fuck? Why else are you listening to the fucking dialogue?
Yeah.
If not to
Yeah, you know
understand
what's
their
in-
thoughts and feelings. Isn't, like, people don't understand that speaking is a way of conveying everything about the human experience to another human.
Raymond, we're talking about a generation or a group of people that only talk in memes, okay?
Yeah, and, you know, I feel like there's going to be a lot of, you know, bridges in Brooklyn that get sold in the near future. So I might also be the one selling them. So
Yeah, I think Phantom of the Night is.
can I get
They just
boneless
want-
story?
boneless story.
Boneless
But
story.
I think
Look,
Can I get a boneless game where the game just plays for me?
low fat, please. Low fat, please. Deep fried. Yes.
Yeah,
deep fried.
deep fried, low lactose, and hold the onion.
Can you give me some low lactose milk, please?
But yeah, there seems to be a trend where some people basically, like Phantom of the Night said, they want an audio drama but in book form. They want something that is easily digestible in a couple of hours, even though that you're specifically reading high fantasy, which, you know, is notoriously not something that you can just digest in a couple of hours, unless if you fucking speed read super fast, which I mean, after a while you're not actually reading, you're just looking at the page.
Skimming.
And not actually absorbing anything.
But audio dramas still have descriptive, and, like, the thing is, you have to make concessions in things like audio dramas, because if you don't do it right, you have to describe what is happening in the scene. Like, you have to have characters actually say, oh, you're going over there and picking that up. Why are you doing that? And it gets very weird and stilted at times. Like, if you're not, unless you take a lot of really careful time to iron things like that out. I should know. Back when I did Black Book, that's purely an audio drama. That's supposed to be very realistic. And the way I got around that was by having a narration by the main character after the fact, describing what happened, and interspersing that with the audio comment, with the actual recording that he took while in the field. So it's like,
right,
that's how I got around it, but you have to get around it. Like, every single version of this kind of stuff has its pros and cons, and it's like, I mean, people don't recognize that.
No.
Speaking of people not recognizing things, the subject of this video.
One sec. I just want to answer Aiden's question. Hey, Twy, how would you react if Pokemon and Digimon did a crossover? I would actually think that would be kind of fun, but I think that, like, I think it would depend on what kind of crossover it would be, because there would be a really kind of boring crossover where it's just like a little bit of merchandise and then a couple of pictures and then that's it. Or you could do something like an actual game where you develop something more in depth of, like, maybe transforming a Pokemon more into a Digimon gameplay style with more Digimon transformations, or do it the reverse, something like that.
I was thinking, like, the way I would do it is, like, have special DLC mons in both games, like, kind of like what they did with Metabots. Where the idea is you would get, like, it wouldn't be a 1-to-1 Greymon, but it would be like a Greymon, an Agumon through Greymon line in Pokemon that would be very similar to that. And you know what'd be hilarious? They made it Dragon Fire just to piss off all the Charizard fans.
Yes.
And then, and then you can make it Dragon Steel at the very end for War Greymon.
Ooh.
True.
Yeah. That'd be great.
But then, on the flip side, you would then have like Pokemon thrown in. Oh, Eevee would be perfect for Digimon.
Yes, it would.
And just to piss everyone else in Pokemon off again, give us the Steel and Bug types. I think that would be great. But yes, today we are going through a video called "Why Cycles of Violence Narratives Never Work," which is an interesting statement from the outset. This is by a YouTuber by the name of Phoenix Ashes. So we got a fellow Phoenix here. So far the title has me going,
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
let's get the obvious out of the way. You're declaring that an entire theme of story never works. That's an entire the cycle of violence never works. That is a bold statement to make, considering that I hold true that anything conceptually can work.
right.
Yeah. And like here's the thing that I don't understand about this, and Zero and I kind of talked about this very briefly, is we don't understand how this is related really to Arcane, because it doesn't really have a cycle of violence narration so much, because cycle of violence narrations are usually like intergenerational rather than systemic.
Well, no, I mean, I don't know. I think it does have a very strong cycle of violence.
The systemic element.
Yeah,
Fair enough, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, like the entire
I
idea is
sort
it starts with the revolt of Zon and Vander and Silco, and then they pass on their traumas and destructions. Obviously, Vander tries not to, but because of Silco, it gets passed on anyway, and so all that resentment gets passed on to the next generation. And then we see that even going into season 2, we see that building with Isha, that she was starting to fall into it, although she got out of Dodge, not in the best of ways.
The thing that I wanted to specify with that is specifically learning from your predecessors, which Isha never did. She was always the one that was pushing Jinx back into it, not the other way around. That's a reversal of the cycle.
Interesting. That actually would be an interesting argument against Arcane Season 2 in light of Arcane Season 1's nature of that cycle. That would be an interesting, like, they add to it, like, Isha was much more about fixing one element of the prior cycle as opposed to being a healthy element of the next, which I feel like that's an interesting conversation, but I think that at least Arcane, at minimum, was trying to portray it, especially because you kind of spelled out for us at the very end of season 2, killing is a cycle. Silco said that just outright. So it's there.
Not to mention Victor's dialogue, especially.
And now whether or not Arcane succides at it, that's a whole conversation.
An entirely different question.
But that's not what's being presented.
Never
here.
works.
Yeah, that's
wild. I'm pretty sure we can
hoping...
name a bunch of stories that we can name that does this stuff really, really well.
Yeah.
Heart of Darkness. I'm pretty sure is a cycle of violence.
Moggy was one.
Moggy.
Like its whole system. Yeah, its whole system was based off of choosing a king, and usually that happened through conquering and war and stuff like that. And also the cycle that was perpetuated by Alfarman.
What I'm expecting is that this is going to get weirdly political.
Probably.
It might be like from the thumbnail. I could be wrong here. Could be wrong. Books and covers and all that. I'm very curious as to whether or not it's like some kind of defense of Jinx in some way.
Yeah, that's also interesting. The title of the thumbnail on the thumbnail title says Jinx did nothing wrong, and I scratched it out and said did everything wrong because I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
So I'm
dude, it's gonna be a My Hero fan Toga situation.
Oh Christ! Don't remind me that happened. Oh, just ignore
Dude,
so much.
ignore My Hero Twitter, guys. You'll be happier for it.
Season
Yeah.
4 of Sailor Moon, the original series, had a great cycle of violence and also a bit of season 3, depending how you look at it. Avatar: The Last Airbender had cycle of violence.
Yes.
The everything about the Fire Nation, everything about the Earth Nation and the Fire Nation, like and you know, everyone was hurt and everyone was lashing out at each other. They work. So I'm this you're
Unless they're working with like a specific definition or
Phoenix
something.
Ash's cousin. We're going to have to. That's what we'll call her. And you know what? I'm going to call her cousin this entire video. You're going to have an uphill battle with this. We have been told that about a third of this video is an Arcane season 1 recap. So we might skim through that just to kind of keep up the pace because it's a 30-minute video. But yeah,
we'll get through 20 minutes, no problem. That's why I was talking so much.
Oh, Trev Mageddon,
yapping my face off.
Mind if I show my friend's published book? If you're paying for the super chat, we'll read it out, man. Go for it.
Totally.
And you know, we can be nice and read out just regular chats, but like if you want to make sure super chatting gets our attention, we want to make sure everyone that contributes to the stream gets their moment to shine.
All right.
Yeah, like I try to do my best to read the chat and keep up with it and answer any questions that we might have, but if we're getting into a conversation, then I'm no longer looking at chat. I'm thinking about what I have to say.
Thanos did nothing wrong. Oops. All right.
Oh, Berserk is a good one as well.
Sean said, "I don't know. Twilight might need the recap."
All right. Let's jump right into this then. Ready?
Yep.
Relatively young story, its cultural impact cannot be understated. It is literally the most expensive animated production ever created, costing $250 million for just 18 episodes.
Oh, already just 18 episodes? The most expensive animated series of all time. Maybe?
I don't know. I mean, possibly, but the thing is, each of the episodes are like 45 or an hour long, so it's like...
it's like, I would probably do that by minutes.
Yeah.
So, I find it an interesting metric.
Well, still, like, I would kind of want to look at that, but we don't always get the budgets for a lot of animated shows.
That too.
I mean... It's said like Digimon was made on like a shoestring budget, but for the life of me, I can't find the actual amount that each episode cost, for instance. And any other show that I look at, it's very rare for me to find like an actual episode by episode breakdown. But from I think it was RWBY, where it was like 45 million or whatever. It was some sort of show that was like 45 million per episode. There are ones that are like a couple of million per episode, things like that. So like, who knows?
I mean, I can believe that because it's Toei, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, people are like, what about One Piece? Like, just by sheer volume, you would have to. Like I said, you would have to break it down by minute, and by that point, I don't know.
Well, even then, because it's Japan, it's different. They don't pay by the hour, they pay by the page.
Right.
So that you have an extra layer of complexity there with how Japan doesn't do payments for animators like we do over here.
Right. You know, and honestly, I kind of like payments by the page, but I know that it's used very, very poor. Like, it's used to underpay people, and I think
it's used to underpay and overwork. Because if you want to be able to have a living wage, then you need to work 15-hour work days.
Right.
Yep. I think that like it has the highest potential for fair payment, but it's being used basically as a smokescreen for the lowest. It sucks.
Yeah.
Within it was the top Netflix show in 85 countries. In 2022, it won 4 Emmys. But Arcane had more than just visuals. It had a gripping and visceral story that was so universally praised that the series' first season rests on the whopping 100% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, based on 30 reviews, as well as 96% audience score, based on over 5,000 reviews. While the bulk of the praise is in...
And just to put the record, well, I think that is actually a very well-deserved score. Even though I don't think it's a 100% series. It's damned close. Don't use Rotten Tomatoes as a metric for anything. Rotten Tomatoes is awful.
Well, I guess it's like, do you want a place where rating system that's accurate, or do you want one that is most used? I guess again, idea that like, okay, this is the thing that a lot of people use, so a lot of them like this or rate it this way. That has to mean something, you know.
Do you want the one that's sensationalized or the?
Yeah, exactly. The one that's sensationalized or the one that's accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, my main problem with Rotten Tomatoes and a lot of websites like that is at the end of the day they're more popularity counters than anything, and not even like overall popularity counters, because people mostly go, if they're the audience, they mostly go there right after watching an episode or finishing the series, and they're still riding that high. They don't think really critically or after a moment of reflection, they just go there immediately and say, oh, this is the best show ever, or oh, this is the worst show ever. There's not a whole lot of people that go to new shows in particular and have that reflection. If they're going to maybe an older show or an older movie that they watched maybe when they were children and they've grown up now and they're kind of reflecting on it with a bit of nostalgia, then perhaps you might get a little bit more reflection there, but they could also just write their review based on nostalgia, saying, oh, this was my favorite show as a kid, so I'm going to rate it a 10 out of 10. Not looking back on it and seeing whether or not it's held up since you were 4.
Right.
So, got a few super chats to cover here.
Oh.
Trev Mageddon says, check out Fate's Gambit by Mariah Killian. It's a dark fantasy horror novel that follows multiple characters. Sorry to derail. Carry on. Thank you so much. People go check out Fate's Gambit. Sounds neat. Gotta love dark fantasy. I'm gonna look that up
on my phone.
Titan Executor sent 1 gifted membership. Evan Rose, enjoy that membership you just got.
Hell yeah.
Sky Slasher says, what are the characters in Arcane in? Some kind of League of Legends? Dude.
Okay.
-2. -2. The Epic Yo. What Digimon do you have today, Twilight?
His name is Blastmon. He is a relatively new Digimon on the scene.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
I already got a freaking bit rate one for him already. Okay.
Yeah. Well, because they were made for the Vital bracelets that had been released a couple of years ago. So with Digimon, the majority of the Digimon that come out are specifically for the toys.
Yeah.
Then there are some Digimon that come out specifically for the anime or for the manga and the novels that are coming out, or the video games that are coming out now. They don't really release Digimon like Pokemon does, where they just make up like 100 or 150 or 200 Digimon and then just release them in the next cycle of the video games. They release them piecemeal, slowly over the years.
I was going to say, Pokemon has done that very rarely, and they almost always inevitably show up in the next game. Like, the two that come to mind are Lucario got his own movie before he was in a game. Oh, Darkrai too. Darkrai as well. And then so did Meltran was in Pokemon Go first, then got ported over to the main games. Oh, Salazar. Sorry for being off topic. Just wanted to thank you guys for RE creators recommendations. But I wanted your guys' take on Megane Chiku Joing confusing powers. I have
never heard of that. Also, I don't
Yeah.
remember us recommending recreators. I never even seen that yet, but I mean, I appreciate it.
It's possible we had someone on that recommended it, like Pete or something.
Maybe it might have been I Know Nothing.
It's possible.
I think Genesect also got the Lucario treatment. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Point is, like, the majority of Pokemon get released with each generation of the games, but with the majority of Digimon, that's not the case. They get released, like, honestly, one of the main reasons why I'm still on Twitter is because new Digimon get released on Twitter. Like, whether it's the Chinese games or the manga that's come out or the novelizations that have come out, there's drawings specifically for those ones, and they release them as the Digimon are revealed. So
Twilight, apparently you gushed about recreators.
Did I?
Was it maybe something else? And just got caught up in the blast? Take on Megane Chico Join is a character from Recreators, and she's
okay.
From the images online, she's cute.
Oh, is that
I think I might have talked about this series at one point based off of something that somebody else said in regards to magical girls, but I've personally never seen it. Like this show, from what I remember now that I've looked it up and I'm looking at it, I think that this show was a dissection of themes and tropes in media in the same way that, like, yeah, but instead of doing it for like one series, it's doing it for a whole bunch of them. And like one of the characters is a dissection of the magical girl genre, and I think that that's what I was talking about when it came to that.
Name makes you think of Pokemon Rebirth. Japan loves the re-colon like format, like, you know, Kingdom Hearts has a bunch of that. And, you know, to be fair, it does stick out to me. That's a pretty cool thing. Anyway, back to the video.
Yeah. Indeed, for the stunning visuals, practically the same amount of praise has been given to the writing, world building, lore, characters, and voice acting.
Victor Nation, how are we feeling? Jace, JB, or JB not?
And all this for a story based on League of Legends, of all things. Though while one of the goals of Arcane was precisely to draw new players into the game, it did not necessarily work. Still, given how the industry tends to treat animation as a lesser form of art than live action, the cultural juggernaut that Arcane became certainly opens many doors for the future of Western animation. I have no doubt that Arcane broke the mold and will become a classic in the years to come.
After season 2,
no.
I feel like people have soured on it, unfortunately.
No, I wouldn't even say it's because of season 2, really. I would say that it's just people in general. Because I'm sorry, but there have been amazing animation that has come out prior to Arcane that people kept saying has broken the mold. It has shown people the artistic merit of animation, and people are going to start respecting it. And what has happened? It keeps getting disrespected. And like, I'm sorry, but we as a culture will have it's an uphill battle for animators to see our art form as as something worthy.
I want to clarify. I wasn't making commentary on that point. I was talking about it being treated as a classic. I was commenting that people have soured on it after season 2 when it comes down to like whether or not season 2 damaged season 1, and people are like, even though season 1 is so good. But if you guys actually want,
would-
there's a pretty good criticism of season 2 by our friend PeriodicPete. Go check it out on his channel. Just came out.
Hell yeah.
It's
I watched that
excellent,
earlier.
excellent
That
video.
was a pretty decent video.
I would still say give it time because, like, yeah, people are sour on it now, but that's because it's still fresh in their minds. Like they're still recovering from the bludgeoning that they got or that they
Yeah.
perceive that they have gotten.
And even then, they'll probably make a distinction where it's like, okay, well, at least season 1 is a classic and we can learn from this.
Season
that
2
kind
made
of
me
thing.
look back at season 1 and find problems I never had with it. Good. You know, that's the thing is, like, I'm disappointed in how season 2 played out, but the fact of the matter is the critical nature of things, it expands your brain. You get smarter, you get stronger as a critic and stronger as a consumer of media, the more that, like, you realize, oh, this thing that I really love has flaws and problems. And, you know, I think season 2 is flawed, horribly flawed, and season 1 has its flaws, but I love them both. You can still
you can still flex your brain muscles with them.
Yeah.
You know, you lift season 1 with the left dumbbell, and season 2's on the right.
Jake Patterson, why do we keep getting people with Russian accents? That is a very good question.
To be fair, this is the second Russian sounding person we've gotten.
That's still a pretty interesting, like, no, this might be the third, I want to say.
The third?
Might be.
Who's the third one?
I'm trying to remember. The first one that I remember is the My Hero character. Person,
Yeah,
right?
Mahias. And then then this.
I feel like there was one more. God, I wish I had better memory of these people.
Honestly, same, but you know, they kind of blend together a little bit after a while, especially because we only do this once a week and we do it so often, and we cover so many different videos and so many different topics.
Yeah.
Chat, if you guys remember if there was a third Russian, you guys can let us know. We trust you.
That sounds like a conspiracy theory. Who's the third Russian?
Who's
the third Russian? We gotta find the third Russian.
I'm looking at the channels, like before Mahias, we were talking about Lily Orchard's video, then the freaking Judge or Fudge, sorry, and he's not Russian. Then there's the My Hero chick.
Dude, you're
She's
gonna be here a
definitely
long while if you're gonna keep doing that.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm just saying the past like few streams we did.
It wasn't recent. It wasn't anytime recent.
Aiden, I know. I will do my best to put a leash on him.
That's why you need to. Oh, come on! I just want him to kiss a little bit. What's wrong with that?
Okay,
just a little bit of kissing. It's okay.
Down, boy.
Consensual smoochage. Everyone's fine with that. Okay, all right. Bit's over.
All right, we're done. We're done. Let's move on.
If it hadn't become one already, to be honest. But season 2 was, suffice to say, a mixed bag. It is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes with 100% approval rating, but the audience score dropped to 89%, and the ending received some well-warranted, in my opinion, criticism, usually pertaining to the pacing and some mishandling of various storylines. Some of it is not really the fault of the writing and production team, as the show was originally planned to last 5 seasons.
RWBY announces the show's last, though it was initially budgeted for a 5-season arc. Why Riot's entertainment aims stalled beyond Arcane, the priciest animated series. So this is the origin of that. Oh my god, we've been looking for this. Oh, so
yeah.
Let me pull up that article because we have been searching for that fucking quote. Why?
Oh my dude, we found this sooner than we found the One Piece. Can you believe it, guys? Can you believe it, chat?
Riot Games' entertainment aims stalled beyond Arcane, the priciest series ever.
Andrew Wallenstein via Variety. November 6, 2024.
Yeah, all right, let's see. Has already been announced that it was initially budgeted for a 5-season arc. They're not citing anyone for this. Which gets me.
The Arcane production quote is real is a bit of a mouthful, to be honest. Yeah, number one rival. You're right.
Yeah, that is not a very good headline. I mean, it does. Admittedly, it's good in the way it says what it says on the tin. Wait, 5 seasons? Oh dear. Yeah, that's what I remember hearing. But for some reason, no one could ever find the quote on that. Now we have one. The YouTuber Sarcastic Chorus has a shitty MHA vid. It basically is the MHA is sexist vid through shipper brain.
Oh god.
Oh dear.
Okay, because there's only been like one other video by Sarcastic Chorus that I kind of have a little bit of an issue with, but that's interesting.
I love how there recently some Baku Deku shipper was like, I drew a comic of what would actually happen if Ochako and Deku went out on a date. And it turns out they don't have anything in common. And it's like shows them going to go see
bullshit.
Like,
I couldn't help but laugh. That's just
like,
we're
going to go out to see a movie. Excellent. Sweet. Let's go see Wicked. No, let's go see Endgame. And they just stand there awkwardly, not knowing what to decide. And then like you got everyone else coming out of the woodwork to dunk on this. Like, okay, well, ranging from let's go watch both, which they both totally would. And then there's also the one that was like, ah, yes, Fujoshi has been here. How can you tell? Straight ship hate.
Yeah. God, I've dealt with Fujoshis for almost my entire career on the internet.
Dude, they're freaking wild, man.
Like, consistently, it doesn't matter how many decades pass, they continue to be, like, parts of the worst aspects of fandom. Like, there are good Fujoshis out there who just stay in their lane quietly.
Not all Fujoshis.
Not all Fujoshis, okay? We don't need to put all of them in the mines. What?
Just most of them.
But like when you get them in an echo chamber, they can be pretty terrible and they can be pretty vicious little creatures. I did tell you, I don't know if I mentioned this on stream, but I did tell you, at least Raymond, how Guts had told me that the Baku Deku shippers gaslit him into thinking that Baku Deku was going to be canon.
They gaslit themselves.
Oh my god!
Yeah, they did.
Like, they completely misread everything that the story was telling them. The Virgin Yaoi shipper versus the Chad Yuri shipper. This man gets it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yuri shippers can be just as
absolutely. I joke, but absolutely, Yuri shippers can be just as toxic.
They're usually ignored though.
Yeah.
So
well, it's because
they're not as bad.
I want to say I'm lumped in with the toxic ones, but like the Yuri shipping fandom is so much smaller than the Fujoshi one. I don't quite understand why that is exactly. Because it's not like I don't quite understand why it's a smaller subsect. I guess because women are more prone to like reading as a hobby. I want to say like reading. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I'm just racking my brain and I still don't understand quite why there's a divide.
I think that there is like a combination of different things. From reading and kind of to a lesser degree writing is more seen as women's hobbies. Fan fiction in particular, for the longest time, was dominated by women.
But it's
and
the
girls.
why that I'm curious about. Is like what elements shaped that? Is it like some
the femoid gene?
The femoid, the femoid. The Epic Kyo says White Rose Forever. I love some Yuri lol. I'm right there with the Epic Kyo.
Okay, we haven't filled up that jar in a while, guys. So here's another one.
Hey, to be fair, that was a super chat. I don't know if I can be blamed for that.
Okay, fair.
All right.
But was cut into two for what seems to be practical reasons. Animating Arcane was an extremely time-consuming and tedious tenure, with Season 2 taking 3 years to animate, so the cut in seasons was, to some degree, reasonable and expected. Unfortunately, this meant that practically all storylines had to be cut or condensed. And while it would be understandable to not delve into all the side plots the show introduced, the biggest problem Arcane encountered is that it never bothered to resolve the main conflict of the story.
Okay, I presume that this is going to be talking about the tensions between Zahn and Piltover.
Yeah, that's probably gonna be the main thing, which I'm not sure if I could fully agree with that or not, but I'm willing to hear what they have to say.
Celestial Warlock, I just found someone made a spreadsheet Excel for RWBY ships. Yeah, no, that's legendary in the fandom. And it keeps getting updated the more characters they add, so yeah. Some of my ship names are actually on there. Like I coined like Holy Bun, and I'm very, very I wish it became the one that's officially the name for Cardin X Velvet is just called Bullying. Yeah. The alternate though, like in the alternate list are two of mine, or no, one of mine. I can't remember if I had a second one. I just know Holy Bun was the one that really took steam. And I'm much
more
prefer
creative
that one.
one.
What?
I said it's more creative.
Yeah, it is, and it's just more fun. Like bullying is just like, yeah.
I mean, I guess that's for if you want to be.
That
just
sure
keep
is
it
a thing that
toxic.
happened in that one scene.
It's what gets me is like it's very limiting in terms of the ship. It's like you immediately stereotype that ship has to be about bullying. It's like, not really. No, Holy Bun is just.
Imagine if the ship names in Wakfu for like Percival and Evangeline was just called Bullying.
Oh my
god. Phantom of the Night. If I recall, Fujo is bigger due to how most BL, despite being two men, is very easy for them to self-insert into due to how it can portray traditional gender roles.
That is true. That is very true, because for a lot of yaoi ships, you usually have the masculine one, and then you have the femboy twink one.
Yeah, like I know this isn't like a yaoi explicit material, but Banana Fish comes to mind when it comes to that. Yeah. So
why is a fish a banana?
Okay, it's the name. It's named after a book or whatever. Whatever. Fuck it.
Oh,
fancy.
Shit, there was something that I was gonna say about this, but I completely forgot.
Piltover, Zahn, resolving the main conflict.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What I was gonna say was I'm not sure if like for one thing, I don't even think that we need to see the conflict resolved necessarily. So I think that is a bit of a misnomer, because what we saw at the end was that they're now in talks to make it so that they can resolve conflicts. It's the start of healing.
Yeah.
So like they did ultimately address it. Yeah, it's a step forward. They ultimately did address it in the end. They just didn't finish it and wrap it up in a pretty neat bow.
Could more have
put
been
it under
done
the
with
Christmas
it.
tree.
Yes, but they did at least give a passing addressing of it by having Sevika join the council.
And it's not entirely unexpected. Like when it comes to a lot of stories like this, a huge point, in favor or how to do facilitate these themes correctly is to basically showcase an open-ended ending like this, where because it reinforces that these issues are complicated, right? And there's no one solution to solve systemic issues that have divided people so greatly and caused a whole loss of life like this.
Well, if you end up doing that, then you have a Star versus the Forces of Evil situation where the ending is just getting rid of magic and then everything is a utopia and there's no issues.
I was in a voice chat, like, I don't know if it was yesterday or the other day, but my friend just pointed out Star versus' ending and how shit it was, and I'm like, God damn, dude. I'm so glad I stopped watching that show after 2 seasons.
Yaoi
Not because it's
fanfic.
bad, but because I was like, I'm aware.
I've never even watched it. I've just watched videos on it
Yeah,
to see what the hell it was even about.
All I hear is that there's genocide at the end, and that just amuses me greatly.
Yeah.
Yaoi fanfics is probably more popular because women prefer pornography in written form, while men prefer pornography in visual form, generally speaking.
Yes.
I would have to... I don't typically dive into the yaoi space of doujin, but I would imagine that we have a thing called yaoi hand, but we don't have a thing called yuri feet or anything like that.
Yeah, well, like, I think manga is still technically considered literature,
I suppose,
to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just a more visual literature, but it is still within that realm. So that is,
right.
Yeah.
Caveat: never go star versus ending unless you know what the hell you are doing. That is because, like, you can have endings like that, but you gotta make it tragic, man. You gotta actually pull that tragedy card hard.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, Eric Roman, I don't in this specific instance, I don't really care about like whose fault it is. I'm just looking at the end result for what it is.
Yeah, and she tries
for good or bad.
She tries to absolve Arcane's writers, and presuming that there were supposed to be 5 seasons, that is a rough task, but it's still their job to resolve things well. If they were cut down 5 seasons, I actually think season 2 is probably one of the better results we could have gotten, but
oh yes,
boy, is it still rough, and I feel like they could have done more to make what they had work.
Right. I guess how much culpability we can leave at their feet in terms of just like, okay, being able to course correct kind of depends on how they were mandated and how exactly the production went, which we'll probably never know about that.
Yeah.
Hey, Floof.
Hi, Floof.
Hey, Floof, it's been a while.
My philosophy has always been the well, not always been, but once I saw the quote from Jackie Chan is, you wouldn't go to every single theater and tell them, well, we were tired that day, or we worked so hard we just couldn't do it the next day, or something like that. It's like, no, you can't do that. It's impossible. And at the end of the day, no one's going to care because all they care is what's on that screen. And
base Jackie.
Yeah. Jack, Sarcastic Chorus also had an MHA shipping ranking video. The thumbnail's infuriating.
Ooh.
I'm gonna check that out while we're watching this, but let's keep going.
I'm looking for it now.
You know what? I will pull it up on screen. Sarcastic Chorus.
How long ago was that? Because I'm a year in.
Is it the How Shipping Ruined Uraraka one? Is that the one?
They have so many Has-Been Hotel videos. Holy crap.
Oh, yeah. Which is funny because I think they made like their most recent video about that is the one where he's all like, I'm not going to watch this show anymore because it's just not hitting for me the same way it used to. So.
Sarcastic Summaries, Never Time Enough.
Is it the MHA? Is the How Shipping Ruined Uraraka one? Trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Jake, please let us know. Send us a sign. Send it by smoke signal. Specifically smoke signal.
Also sign language will help.
That was a hell of a boss that he crashed out on. Just say he wasn't going to watch Hell of a Boss, not Has-Been Hotel, Kaiser. Sean Fulldark, everything is better than Kill Justice League. Dude, everything is better than Kill the Justice League.
Oh, yeah, dude. I'm not fucking touching that shit.
It's on its alt Sarcastic IRL. Ah, that would be why.
Ah.
My friend. I never knew he had an alt channel, but okay.
Does he have it listed?
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, I see it right there.
Okay. Ranking every shit.
Oh, no, what the fuck? Why you do this to my girl?
Oh my god. Oh man.
You know what? We're adding. Oh no, that's a 3-hour stream.
Yeah.
Mm.
No.
If one of our brave fans wants to make a highlight clip of that for us, we will go through it. But that's a 3-hour stream. I ain't dealing with that shit.
Yeah, we need I don't know, at least condense that into 50 minutes or something.
An hour is probably what we push the most. Like that is like the limit for us. We did an hour and 20 with Gramuglia. We don't need.
Yeah.
I don't want to suffer like that again.
Yeah, that also takes us 2 streams too.
Yeah,
that did.
All right. Well, we got this cool little record player.
Yeah.
A video by Phoenix Ashes, starring Tom Cruise. Wait, what?
Directed by Michael Bay.
Nah, this feels more like either a Quentin Tarantino or a oh, why am I blanking? A Fantastic Mr. Fox. Oh, why am I blanking on his name?
Before we start, remember that if you like my content, like, subscribe and share, so that more people can see it. Make sure to click the notification button, so that you never miss a new video. Also, you can listen to
Wes
this
Anderson,
on
that was
Spotify
it.
if you prefer. Check the link in the description.
Or you could do
And
that for
in
us.
case it wasn't clear, watch
Yeah.
out for spoilers for both seasons of Arcane. To briefly recap the basic plot of this story. Arcane takes place broadly in 2 locations.
Okay, so this is about 10 minutes. So let's see, 13.
You can probably put that on 1.5 or whatever.
Scooty up, doody up, dee 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 da.
Okay, yeah, we'll put it on fast speed.
Yeah.
Playback speed 2 times.
The Undercity, also known as Zone. The story focuses on Vi and Powder, 2 sisters who lost their parents to the failed Zonite rebellion. Vi and Powder are taken in by Vander, a leader of the uprising. Some years later, Vi, Powder, and their adopted brothers, Milo and Kaiser, break into Piltover residence to steal
That's
some goodies,
Russian.
and Powder encounters a
Oh, she's Russian!
She accidentally shuts
She's
down
Russian,
Powder's
guys!
They run back into the Undercity, but are attacked by local thugs, and Powder loses the loot. Vander manages to blockade the Enforcers, the police force of Piltover. At the same time, Silco, Vander's former best friend with whom he had a violent falling out, tests a new drug called Shimmer that mutates the body of whoever gets injected by it. The crystals Powder's soul belong to JYCT.
Sort of? Yes?
Uh-huh.
No, I guess I'm being pedantic. Anyway.
An aspiring scientist at the Piltover Academy. Jace wishes to use the mysterious arcane magic to improve Piltover's technology due to being saved by it when he was a child. However, he gets expelled for tampering with dangerous magic. Victor, another scientist originally from the Undercity, our beloved Harry Lloyd in this role, decides to aid Jace in his experiments. With the shielding of the Consular Melmatarda, Victor and Jace invent Hextech, a potent element that can be used to power technology with magic. The incident the children caused make the Zonites wish to once more fight against Piltover, but Vander insists on staying neutral. To protect Vi and Powder, Vander decides to take responsibility for the incident, but is instead captured by Silco, who inject one of the Zonites with Shimmer and make him into a mutated weapon. Vi, Milo, and Kaiser decide to save Vander, but Vi forbids Powder from going with them. While the siblings manage to locate Vander and almost save him, Powder accidentally causes an explosion that kills Milo and Kaiser. Vander takes Shimmer in order to protect Vi and dies in the process. When Vi learns that Powder caused the explosion, she hits her and pulls her at Jinx. Silco then approaches Powder and consoles her, but before Vi can intervene like she planned to, she's arrested by one of the enforcers, Marcus. Several years down the line, Hextech causes Piltover to prosper, though there are still doubts about the dangers of the arcane nature of it. Powder, who now goes by Jinx, smuggles Shimmer for Silco, whom she now sees as a father. The operation gets interrupted by the Firelights, another Zonite gong led by Echo, once a friend to Vander's children. When Jinx mistakes one of them for Vi, she has a violent breakdown and kills most of them. She then steals Jace's gemstone and causes an explosion in Piltover that kills several enforcers. Jace becomes one of the consulars to protect the city from Jinx and orders a blockade, fueling tensions between 2 cities. Caitlyn, a daughter of the Kiraman consular, investigates the crime scene of the recent Firelights fight. Curious about the incident, Caitlyn visits the Stillwater prison, where she encounters Vi. Together, they track down Silco. In Piltover, Victor's illness starts getting increasingly worse, and he plans to cure it using Hextech, and Jace assists him in that. Heimerdinger, one of the consulars and the dean of the academy, forbids Jace from continuing the experiment, so Jace orchestrates his removal from the council. Vi and Caitlyn learn of Jinx's allegiance to Silco. Meanwhile, Jinx manages to use Jace's gemstone to create a device similar to Hextech. Jinx and Vi reunite, but Jinx is mistrustful of
So is-
Caitlyn, and they do not manage to make up. The Firelights steal the gemstone.
I guess this is a fairly good recap,
Yeah, it's
I
pretty good.
guess.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to inject commentary.
Yeah, I'm sitting here. I'm
For
like,
being
okay, yeah,
quiet.
this is fine. This is fine.
And abduct Vi and Caitlyn. Following Vander's
decent
death,
recap,
Silco made
yeah.
the population of the Undercity addicted to Shimmer, but Echo and the Firelights work to build a community of refugees.
Hi,
Victor uses the
Tree.
body of Shimmer to
No
cure
one
his
will
illness.
mention you
Jinx kills
again.
the enforcers. Echo and Jinx fight, and she detonates
Oh.
an explosive, which leads to Jinx having severe injuries. Jinx did recover the gemstone, however.
Best
Vi and
boy.
Caitlyn flee to Piltover. Silco has Jinx injected with Shimmer to save her life. Meanwhile, Ambessa, Mel's mother, originally from Noxus, arrives at Piltover to give aid with the upcoming war with Zone. Heimerdinger meets Echo, and Victor heals his body through the Hex core, but the experiment accidentally kills his friend Sky. Vi and Jace team up to destroy Silco's Shimmer factories, but Jace accidentally kills a child. At the same time, Caitlyn gets kidnapped by Jinx.
Just a casual way. Hey, he just accidentally kills a child. Excuse me? Damn.
Jace brokers a peace deal with Silco.
No,
In
I
exchange for
didn't need the recap, Sean.
Jinx, he will grant Zone independence. Victor orders Jace to destroy the Hex core. Vi is abducted by Jinx and is made to choose between her and Caitlyn. Jinx has a breakdown and accidentally shoots Silka, who tells her that he would not turn her in to Piltover, even in exchange for independence. Jinx then fires a rocket at the Piltover Council as they approve Zone's independence. Here's where season 1 ends. In season 2, Jace and Mel survive the attack, but Caitlyn's father is killed. Victor is also heavily wounded, and to save him, Jace fuses his body with the Hex core. Piltover immediately prepares for retaliation, but Mel opposes the use of Hextech. To avoid a full-blown war, Caitlyn offers to instead locate Jinx and neutralize the producers of Shimmer. At the Memorial for the Fallen Consulators, the Piltovans get attacked. Vi agrees to help with locating Jinx, putting on an Enforcer's badge. Some Zonists want to turn Jinx in, but Sevika, once Silco's second-in-command, refuses. Caitlyn and her team gas the streets of Zone, but fail to locate Jinx, who meets an orphan named Isha. Victor awakes from a coma, and when he realizes that Jace hadn't destroyed the Hex core, he parts ways with him. As he returns to Zone, he realizes that the Hex core gave him healing powers.
Oh, he did a little more than realize he didn't destroy the Hex core. He actively grafted it to Victor's person. That's a little... That goes from, oh, you didn't destroy this horrible WMD to, you made me the WMD?
He put the freaking arc reactor in his chest like Tony Stark.
No, I'm sorry. The arc reactor doesn't, like, fucking turn you into a cleric of the Arcane. Oh.
Which inspires him to create a cult. When Heimerdinger and Echo discover that...
Sorry, just something about, like, the spontaneous... Well, it inspires him to create a cult. You know how it goes.
As you do.
Tree in the Firelight's hideout has signs of magical corruption. They consult Jace on the issue. Ambessa survives an assassination attempt on herself by the Black Rose, a group of Noxian sorcerers, who in turn kidnap Mel. Jace, Echo, and Heimerdinger discover an arcane anomaly known as the Wild Rune. Vi and Caitlyn locate Jinx, who fights them off together with Sevika, and the fight gets interrupted when Isha shields Jinx with her own body. Sevika, Isha, and Jinx flee, detonating bombs to cover their escape, which damages Zone's air ducts and spreads gas throughout Piltover. Caitlyn abandons Vi, and Ambessa convinces the Piltovans to declare martial law, with Caitlyn as commander-in-chief. Nobody is aware that Ambessa was behind the Memorial attack. Singed, Silco's former employee, creates a wolf-human hybrid. Piltovan and Nexus forces began the occupation of Zone, but Jinx has gone into hiding with Isha, and Jace, Echo, and Heimerdinger go missing. Caitlyn grows suspicious of Ambessa, who wants to use the Hex tech against the Black Rose. Jinx is now seen by the Zonists as a hero, and Sevika tries to convince her to lead a revolt. Jinx refuses, but when Isha is captured at the rally, she and Sevika break into Stillwater prison to save her. Singed is also arrested, but leaves a blood trail so that the beast he created can follow him. Jinx fights the creature as Sevika and Isha flee. As the creature is about to kill Jinx, he recognizes powder in her. It turns out that the beast was created using Vander's body. Jinx reunites with Vi and convinces her to follow her to meet with the mutated Vander. While he attacks them at first.
It's warm? Oh no. Billy Donuts! Quick! Rescue us! In our time of need!
First, he does eventually recognize his daughters. Meanwhile, Ambessa offers Singed to work for her, and Caitlyn realizes that the reason he was conducting these experiments was to cure his ill daughter. Meanwhile, Mel finds herself in the Black Rose prison, where she reunites with her brother Kino, previously presumed dead. Kino tells her that Ambessa had an illegitimate child that the Black Rose tries to locate, and Mel realizes that he's just an illusion, with her latent magical powers getting unleashed. Jace returns and meets with Salo, a man who was left disabled in the wake of Jinx's attack on the council, but was healed by Victor. Jace vows to destroy Hextech and kills Salo. Jinx, Isha, and Vi ask Victor to kill Vander, but unbeknownst to them, Singed, Caitlyn, and Ambessa track them down. Caitlyn captures Vi, but they team up once more and defeat
Also, we were
Singed and
lied
Ambessa.
to.
Jace sneaks
It wasn't 10 minutes.
Oh, has it been more than 10 minutes?
It says 11:25.
But we started at like
I think he
minutes.
meant that the section itself is 10 minutes, not
okay.
in the 10 minutes into the video.
Never mind.
Into the scene and kills Victor, which causes Vander to become wild again. Isha sacrifices herself to save Jinx from being killed by the frenzied Vander. At the same time, Echo and Heimerdinger find themselves in an alternate universe, where the explosion at the beginning of season 1 actually killed Vi, which changed the events so that Milo and Clagger are still alive, and Hextech was never invented. In this world, Jinx is still Powder, and is a fairly well-adjusted individual that is dating Echo. And with her help, Heimerdinger and Echo create a time reversal device. In spite of developing feelings for Powder, Echo decides to return to his timeline, and does so with Heimerdinger sacrificing for him. Parallel to this, Jace gets transported to a post-apocalyptic reality, where Hextech destroys Piltover, revealing that it's Victor's fault. When he's transported back to his timeline, this is what prompts him to kill Victor, but Singed uses Vander's remains to keep Victor alive. Caitlyn and Jinx put their enmity behind, with Jinx acknowledging her guilt in killing Caitlyn's mother, and Caitlyn acknowledging that she no longer hates Jinx. Mel escapes the Black Rose's prison and reunites with Jace, revealing that her secret magical powers saved.
Is this in 2 times speed? Yes, it is in 2 times speed, because just to recap. So it's like 1/3 of this video just recap? Yes. Which
also
probably not necessary for what we're discussing.
Yeah, especially given how popular you said that this show is, like,
you could have just been
watch this video.
You could have been much more specific. You could have really just narrowed down on the point you're trying to make, but you're like recapping every major bullet point of the show. That doesn't
especially
because like
when like sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm trying to think like what does the fucking alternate reality shit have to do with anything in terms of a cycle of violence?
Yeah, the cycle of violence and stuff like that.
I guess showing that like you can end the cycle of violence, but
yeah, it's like a potential future where it's possible for that not to have been further perpetuated, which sure, I suppose, but you want to keep your videos as focused as possible.
Floof, it's not an isekai anime.
It was for that one episode.
Yeah. Fair, I guess.
By the way, speaking of isekai, I definitely recommend Red Ranger, the Red Ranger isekai. That one was pretty good. I finished that one recently.
No.
Also, were Powder and Echo in the alternate actively dating, or?
I think so.
I don't think we. Okay. Because I don't remember getting like actual confirmation that
I think
they
it
were
was
like full on dating.
One of those things I think was implied, but I think that's why he said
Mm.
like it was the first time, because he knew that they were already kissing and dating.
Right.
Save
Okay.
them from being killed during Jinx's attack. Victor's emissary arrives and requests access to the hex core that would help him accomplish the goal of glory.
Wait, Celtic, also one of the Arcane writers confirmed Caitlyn also died in that Happy AU timeline. Damn.
No.
Wait, what? Okay,
No, that makes
better
sense. That
link
makes sense.
You better source that.
Yeah, you definitely sourced that, but like that definitely makes sense.
Evolution.
So
Victor allies from Vesta
no lesbians equals a happy world.
Oh no! What did Arcane?
for a
What did
fact.
Riot mean by this?
Dude, yeah, what do they mean by this, dude? You know for a fact that if Michaela decides to review season 2, that's what she's going
Let us find out that Lest also died. You know, the
God.
the Lynx lady. Apparently she's
Yeah.
trans. So you just get the hat trick there.
and attacks Piltover. Jinx decides to break the cycle of violence, mirroring Silco's earlier words to her. Jace calls for Piltover and the Undercity to ally and defeat Ambessa and Victor. Jinx
Wait.
attacks Piltover. Jinx decides to break the cycle of violence, mirroring Silco's earlier words to her. Jace calls
Which words to her? Because the ones that she heard in the jail cell were her own hallucination. Like it was her talking to herself, not actually Silco talking to her. That's not a small distinction either.
calls for Piltover and the Undercity to ally and defeat Ambessa and Victor. Jinx and Echo arrive to help with the battle. Ambessa dies, but Victor manages to access the wild rune of the Hexcore, putting everyone but Echo in a state of hypnosis. However, Echo defeats Victor with the use of his time-traveling device. Jace then manages to convince Victor to stop his plans. They destroy the wild rune together and their physical forms disappear. Jinx seemingly sacrifices herself to protect Vi from Vander, with the implication that she might have survived. In the end, Sevika becomes zone representative on the council, Mel returns to Noxus, and Cinch cures his daughter. The end.
Yeah, I really hope that every single element of that comes into play, or else you just wasted like quite a bit of time recapping all of that.
Yeah, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, we did not need all of that.
On the plus side, we're almost halfway through the video. That's record time.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, the fastest Team Jack stream? Hello?
The question that you probably ask, what about Piltover and Zon?
Well, Sevika's on the council now, which implies that there is a level of healing going on between the two and a mutual respect, even though that there is animosity that still lingers. So that's the current state we leave things in.
Yep.
Well, nothing about Piltover and Zon. And that's the problem.
No.
What do you mean?
You mentioned Sevika. She was right.
Yeah.
It was like literally 10 seconds ago.
It's not
Yeah.
true. Just because everything isn't wrapped up in a nice, neat little bow and that both of the cities are now utopias, that doesn't mean that they didn't address things.
Yeah,
Stop
again, this is literally what I said earlier. Like, if they did go that route, that would make it even less believable, given how seriously the story takes itself and its messaging.
Now, do I wish that there had still been differences? Like, I don't know, I would say probably 2 Zonites on the council. I think that would have been probably a little more pointed
Yeah,
towards
that would have
like
been more sensible.
yeah, more, you know, there's you know, more of a fair contingent. They got definitely, because council members have been dropping like flies.
Yeah.
But like overall, just they did address it. They didn't address it fully or as well as they could have, but they did address it, and you're saying they didn't, which already bad footing for this video to start.
Definitely.
Okay.
According to
That's
league
a
lore,
whole we didn't start the fire thing.
Corey?
Piltover and Zon were once united, but were separated due to an accident that caused Zon to be partially buried underground, killing thousands of citizens and leaving poisonous gas in the surrounding area.
All right. So, here is the question. Is this League lore or is this Arcane lore? Because the two are not synonymous, and they haven't been synonymous for a long time.
Yeah, so basically since the jump. Like she said here that this is according to League lore. So maybe I hope she'll specify that, you know, this isn't confirmed to be the lore of the show, but if it is, these are the implications, right? But
Accessed 4th January 2025. All right.
The gas was blown away by the wind spirit Janna, prompted by the prayers of the Zonids. Zon was eventually rebuilt, and its control of water transport caused the merchant class to immensely prosper and build Piltover over Zon. Soon rose to be the city of progress and innovation, building many factories over Zon, causing air pollution and leading to illness and disability of its citizens. Thus, the Zonids were directly suffering for the progress.
Somewhere.
Yeah, we saw depictions of Janna. We saw like elements of that, but like her story was limited to one instance. Like it wasn't a massive citywide thing. It was just one instance of a cave-in, and some miners were saved by the wind goddess. Like it was like a kind of a miracle that was around maybe like 100 people at max. It wasn't the whole city. So already we're seeing major differences in the lore.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like we saw the industrialization, we know about the gray, we know about the pollution, we know about all these things. So it was established. It was just established visually and through characters interacting with one another. It wasn't like exposited at us directly.
Holy shit, visual storytelling. That's crazy.
Progress and
visual
innovation
storytelling, that's crazy.
Of Piltover, with the growing class divide only adding fuel to the fire. In stories of this sort, it's common for the creators to opt for more fantastical and over-the-top oppression allegories, often to poor result. So I, for one, am glad that the creators of Arcane went for the ever-universal theme of class divide. It's also why I believe that The Hunger Games is still so popular and influential. The underlying theme is that of class divide, with the games itself only being one of its manifestations. One small group directly benefits from the oppression of another group of people, keeping the oppressed group in scarcity and misery, all while the privileged ones reap endless benefits. Sounds all too familiar, doesn't it? It's also why so many of the dystopian works created in the wake of the Hunger Games craze never worked quite as well and largely faded into obscurity.
Also, that's just badly written.
Yeah. And not to say, I know Hunger Games gets controversial near the end in terms of its writing quality, but like, the first two stories, I watched the first two films and they were both really good. Like,
yeah, they were both all right.
Someone showed me the Divergent movie. It was fucking awful.
Dude, I watched, I don't know if I actually watched
series,
the whole thing.
It does. No, I think the last movie got canceled.
I was gonna say, like, oh my god, we could do an entire arc of watching these kinds of films.
Yeah,
yo. The YA dystopia arc.
Yeah, the Hunger Game clones.
Yeah, like, The one thing that I'll say about Divergent is it's very boring, it's very generic, it's very paint by numbers, and all of the characters, actually none of the characters, except for Beatrice and Four, are really established all that much, to the point where there was a twist reveal of the traitor who tried to murder Beatrice, and it turned out to be some guy that I didn't fucking know, and it was apparently like one of her best friends in the books. It's like, who the fuck is this?
Now I'm remembering that there was that film I Am Number 4 or I Am Number 4. I can't remember. I'm remembering that one.
I Am Number 4, yeah.
And I remember that one getting
Kids Next Door book.
Oh, just got a weird New Zealander little kid running around doing shit.
Yeah.
Was he New Zealand or Australian?
No, I'm pretty sure he's Australian.
Okay.
The inner workings and nuances of systems of oppression, its authors saw some peculiar element of the world building and based the story around it. Say, in Divergent.
Okay, well, now here's a problem that I have, is that Arcane, I don't think did the greatest job of actually elaborating on, like, it did enough to establish that there is a disparity between the two classes, but I never actually quite got, like, the tangible understanding of how that came into function. The best we get is some offhand comments about how raw materials are brought up through Zon, and into Piltover for manufacturing and the like. But
Yeah.
beyond that, I don't quite understand exactly how they're keeping Zon in oppression. Isa, member for 1 month. Is she referring to Divergent in the positive? F. No, she's not. She's criticizing it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, she said
someone,
that, like it.
Eric
It's not held
Roman's.
up very well.
Sorry. My apologies. Eric Roman asked me a question. I have an idea for a YA book where the protagonist is the main villain. What do you think? I think figure it out, because ideas don't necessarily mean much in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah,
it's the execution that makes or breaks it.
Best inspiration I could give you is Artemis Fowl, but even by the end of the halfway through the second book, he's not really even a villain anymore. Read the first Artemis Fowl, kind of see where they're coming from there, but it's not a bad idea. I actually really like the idea of following the villain. Following the villain can be a lot of fun, like Penguin.
There's nothing inherently wrong with any kind of idea that you can come up with. It's just it's just an idea at that point. Like there's nothing really to say whether it's a good idea or not ultimately, because it comes down to the meat of the idea. How you go about doing it.
Saga of Tanya the Evil. Tanya isn't a villain. She's not. It's really hard to gauge because, she does commit war crimes, but so are the people she's fighting.
But everyone's doing.
Everyone's committing. It's basically a representation of World War I, where there is no evil. That's kind of the joke. Well, not really a joke, but that's kind of the criticism. Is she's called Tanya the Evil, but in reality, everyone.
Really?
Yeah. Raymond reads Artemis Fowl. Why am I not surprised? Ryan. One of my most popular videos is an angry rant about the movie. It's one of my things that pissed me off about the movie the most is that Artemis is just a regular kind of normal kid, and he's kind of nice to everyone. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, no, give me my asshole little boy who's going to talk down to everyone because he's so much fucking smarter, and he gets fucking beat up by a goddamn fairy. Come on. He doesn't get sucker punched once by Holly in that fucking film, and it angers me so greatly. Wait, no, he does. He does, and he takes it like a champ instead of actually learning a lesson from it.
Oh my god.
Lame.
That's funny.
It has a movie.
Funny.
Technically, yes. Technically, yes. Figuratively, no.
Okay.
The main character is targeted by the oppressive government because she has more than one personality trait, which serves as commentary for just about nothing, especially since it turns out that she is just a normal human being and people with one personality trait are a result of a failed experiment. Upon watching season 1, I was positively surprised at the care the writers took in constructing the system.
Sorry, the thing that makes Divergent not work when you realize that Beatrice is just a normal person is that they were trying to see whether or not regular human beings could come out of these failed experiment creatures who only have one personality, and yet the whole point of her keeping it a secret that she was Divergent was because they would kill her if they found out. So what the fuck? If the whole point of the experiment is to see if regular people come out of it, and then you kill regular people, what is the point?
Yeah, why you want to kill them then? I guess, I don't know.
Jesus Christ, my brain is my brain just tied in the knots hearing that.
Exactly.
I guess the only rationale, which I'm guessing they didn't really say in this book, is that, okay, we want to cut off this particular gene that would allow normal people to exist so that everybody can stay having one trait or whatever. You hardcore
the whole point of the experiment was to see whether or not regular people could come out of it because they wanted they wanted to cultivate more regular people out of the
Oh,
population.
fuck me. I try fixing the story.
Wasn't the director of Artemis Fowl a Harry Potter actor? Well, yes, but Kenneth Branagh has a long line of directing credits. He directed the first Thor film, which was pretty good, all things considered. It wasn't anything stand out, but it was actually pretty good. He's directed several Shakespeare adaptations, one of which is my favorite adaptation of Othello to date. It has, I want to say, Lawrence Fishburne in it as Othello, and it is absolutely just wonderful. Kenneth actually plays Iago in that, and he is the reason that Iago is one of my favorite villains of all time. Highly recommend that film, by the way, and it shows that he can direct. So I put all of my blame at Disney's feet. That film was in development hell.
System of oppression faced by the Zonids. They seem to fully understand that oppression requires one group being a beneficiary of benefits at the expense of another group.
A beneficiary of benefits. That is how that works. Yes. I don't want to knock you too hard. It's not your native language, but silly.
Yeah.
Sometimes that was very obvious, like the brutality the enforcers displayed towards Zonids, but often it was shown to us in more intricate ways, such as the set design, like the pipes that dump toxic waste into Zon, or the fact that Zonids are not granted the same protections in the court of law as citizens of Piltover. Jace is able to explain himself to the council when he is accused of breaking the law, whereas Vi, a child, is thrown into prison for years with no trial.
No, okay, wait a minute. That is a radically different situation.
No trial.
Yeah.
There was presumably no trial. Marcus kidnapped her, probably put her through with falsified paperwork. He was trying to cover up his own crimes at the time. Yeah. He was a corrupt officer of the law, so we're already getting that level. Third, when Vi is brought forward, the council does briefly listen to her. They actually listen to her side of the story and then disregard her, which, not a point in the favor of the argument that I'm trying to make necessarily, but it does show that they are willing to listen to Zonids.
Specific reason, though.
Yeah. Not to mention, she was going to be arrested and probably put forward in the same trial that Jace was. Like, we don't know how she would have been treated by the council. She never made it there. Yeah. Her dad got murdered.
Yeah, we don't ever get to see what a typical trial or how that sort of process goes for just a typical Zonite that did something similar to what Jace did.
Yeah, well, to be fair, if she had managed to go there, she would have gone the exact same situation because she caused the explosion. So
true, yeah. So there's that.
This is also done with Nuance, since not all Zonids are angels, best exemplified by Silco, whose dream of independent Zon led him to become a gang leader and team up with Singed to create Shimmer, a mutative drug that makes the Zonids dependent on it, only furthering their misery, all in effort
everyone wants to be my enemy. Sorry.
to create an army that will be capable of defeating Piltover. That is why it was so disappointing for Season 2 to throw it all out of the window. Following the debut
I just got that. What? Because it sounded like she said B instead of P. So it's like, oh, it's called Piltover because it's just a different they switched the letters out. It's built over.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking god.
Oh my god.
I never got that. That's crazy.
The shipping Uraraka vid has so many bad points. ISG. Well, again, we got to cut that down. That is a 3-hour stream, my dude.
No. The shipping vid. It's a different.
Oh wait, the shipping ruined Uraraka. I think that video is about 30 minutes. I want to say.
Okay, that might be. Do we add it to the list?
Yeah, it's 31 minutes. Long, so yeah, I can add it later.
I love talking about My Hero shipping. It's good.
Season 2, Christian Link, the creator of Netflix's Arcane, says he drew inspiration from the US two-party political system and how they struggle to communicate with each other.
I did not see that whatsoever.
Imagine how tired we are. I said at the beginning that the show did not bother to resolve the Zone versus Piltover conflict, but the more apt description of what happened is that they decided to push that conflict to the side by invoking the nebulous cycle of violence. It's a creative decision that seems like a safe cop-out from the heavier themes of Season 1.
So what you're saying is you lied to us.
Ooh, I hate it.
We've been debated, ladies and
You
gentlemen.
lied to us by saying they didn't address this. We called you out on it, and now you're explaining, no, they pushed it to the side. And it's like, no, you said they
Which is
didn't
totally
address it.
different.
Completely different.
I guess what she's trying to say is that they pushed the conflict to the side and didn't address the core issues of this conflict by invoking the cycle of violence thing. But like,
the cycle of violence is the heart of the conflict.
Yeah, that's always been a part of this. I'm sorry, how can you look at this show, which portrays the good and the bad of Piltover and Zaun, not necessarily in equal measure, but just, relative measures, and say that there was no theme of a cycle going on here? How does that work?
Basically, the idea is one person hurts another. The other person hurts that person back. The first person hurts the second person again, and vice versa, to the point that you lose sight of who's hurting who. The only thing that's remembered in the collective consciousness is maybe about 2 or 3 injuries back, but by that point, you've lost the initial injury and where everything started. That's the cycle of violence, where it just keeps on going because everyone wants retribution for their current pain, and this is even further because of how humans repopulate. Our kin live long enough only to see so much of the misery that's happening, and they grow bitter to it. And it's something that just keeps on cycling in that way. That is the cycle of violence, is the fact that we just, as humans, have a finite amount of time that we can remember and recall to the origins of past wrongs. It's really, it really sucks.
We're so knee deep in these sorts of conflicts that we just lose sight of things, and it keeps perpetuating itself.
To a certain extent, I would agree with that, but also there are very deep-seated ancient cultural biases that have persisted for thousands of years as well. So like there's separations between like the more current stuff and the more ancient stuff.
Sure.
I mean, I would argue that's just the natural, like, end point of the cycle of violence, is that it reaches this point of just, it's a general animosity.
Right.
Yeah. But I will say that, like, for the point of you can only remember it a couple of generations back.
Oh, no, what I'm specifying there is that the actual injury itself, like the specific injury in question, what you remember is they hurt me a week ago and they have always hurt us. It's that they have always hurt us line that gets in our way of like really developing, improving upon ourselves, because we don't remember why or when those previous they always hurts us happened. We just kind of blanket them all together instead of really analyzing and trying to piece out and then trying to heal the injuries. We just let them fester.
Or you don't let those injuries go until you get an equivalent injury stricken back.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
So
and that
like
that then rejuvenates the cycle.
Exactly. Yeah, like that is ultimately the cycle of violence, is not just the injury itself, but also the need for revenge, to the whole eye for an eye thing.
And that happened between Vi and Silco and all these other
the
people.
The Intratech 9 says, here's the elephant in the room. What about vengeance on specific targets, like Adam versus the SDC? Man was blinded in the eye by a human corp the size of Exxon Mobil. Look, if he were to have killed the man that blinded him in the moment that it happened, that's justified. That's absolutely a justified kill. He's defending himself in that moment. Unfortunately, but then targeting everyone that's an employee at that place people who are good people that are just trying to make a buck, that aren't harming anyone by their actions. They're like shipping things. They're mining things. How many people did he end up hurting that were also on his side of the action? How many people did he end up hurting as a result of his actions that weren't at all involved?
Yeah,
actions
we
have
know
consequences.
how psychotic he is.
And
It probably was like in a blind rage or something.
And humans, human life is not something to be just so casually thrown away. It's one of those things to be valued at all times and only taken in the most extreme of circumstances. If you are safe and sound, violent retribution is not the course you want to take. Now, peaceful rebellion, or should I say, annoying rebellion, is probably the best you can get in a moral sense. If you want to go full amoral, I can't stop you, but I can say, no, don't. Do not commit violence against your fellow man
really,
outside of self-defense. It is flatly condemnable.
Also, answering a question in chat from Aiden Hughes. Kaiser, do you think she watched it or pulled a Jello apocalypse? I don't get that impression at all, dude. Okay, I think she watched it. I mean, we literally spent through a freaking 10-minute long recap. I think we're good. Yeah. I don't think we have that problem. Okay.
Yeah, like just because somebody doesn't fully understand something within a narrative doesn't necessarily mean that they haven't watched it. Maybe they haven't paid attention as closely as other people, or maybe they don't comprehend certain concepts or comprehend it in a different way from other people. That doesn't necessarily mean that they haven't watched it, though.
And that is a thing, I guess a small criticism I kind of have in regards to, for example, like in Psy streams, because sometimes she invokes that a little bit. When talking about certain people, like not with Lily Orchard, I get it because, like, you know, she actively lies and has admitted that she didn't even fully watch certain things, right? But there have been times where I felt like she watched other videos and it felt like she was sort of like invoking that in the same intensity as talking to Lily Orchard, where it's just not very necessary. You know, some people can just watch something and even pay attention to it, but they just get shit wrong for whatever reason, and it's not really much deeper than that. I know nothing. No one is as bad as Jello as well. Don't throw that anyway. Yeah, that's too mean, guys. Okay.
Yeah. Don't be very careful when you throw around the Jello accusations.
Oh yeah, because then if you say that you don't like Jello in any way, he will mold at you on Twitter for like a week.
Oh no.
Yeah, like literally not too long ago, some guy, I think there was this tweet that everybody was retweeting about, like, oh, name a YouTuber that you used to like but don't like anymore. And it's just a guy who said, yeah, I don't like Jello Apocalypse anymore because he's kind of a bitch, and you know, his series isn't even that good. And then Jello just did a whole ass thread just molding at this shit. Just this random guy. I don't think this dude is even a content creator or anything. This is just a guy who just said, yeah, Jello sucks.
What a weak little baby with a Jello spine. Like, maybe that's why he's called Jello Apocalypse. He has a spine made of Jello. He can't handle criticism. Even though that he likes to dish it out.
Exactly. And again, this is just a random guy. And it's like Titan and Aiden said, jokes on Jello. I don't have Twitter. Good on you all, bro. That is just so freaking sad, dude. But yeah, that was just a crazy situation because nobody, like, there was just nobody was on Jello's side in that. Thank God, I don't think.
Good.
There's just no reason for him to just go off as much on this random dude who said he didn't like him. Like, I'm sorry, if Just a Robot, because I made a similar tweet about Just a Robot, I swear to God, I pray to God that Just a Robot never does that with my freaking tweet. At least I think he understands that he just needs to back away after all the shit that he had done. But yeah.
I thought he had. Like, I haven't heard any whisper about him in a couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure he made a new video, but no one's really paid attention to it except for I think Chud Logic or something. I think he made a video responding to it. Let's see. I know nothing. Someone could tell me Caliburn sucks, and I'd just be like, "As you were, my friend." Titan says, "Thanks. We can still talk shit on him on Blue Sky unless he uses that too." You know he has a Blue Sky.
My sister.
All of these types of people uses Blue Sky in order to avoid fucking criticism.
My sister docked my novel half a point because the main character didn't use his powers to dry some clothing. And honestly, it was like, but what? Legitimately, it's a massive sticking point for her, and I'm just like, okay.
To defend your sister a little bit, I actually recently saw a short by my editor where she complained about that very thing, where she said, if you have a story where your character has some sort of power, whether it be magic or some sort of science or whatever, and you keep making excuses for or reasons why, or just neglect in some way to not have that character use that power, then why do you even have them have that power in the first place? Because it seems like you just are trying to not have that character use their powers as much as possible. And that might not be the case for you, obviously, because it's just the one instance. But I can see where people can get frustrated when there's an obvious way that a character can use a power and it's just not utilized for whatever reason.
Absolutely, I get that. But like in this instance, it's like, okay, well, it was at the end of the day, and also like the actual effort to dry clothing by hand, and like that's how his power activates. His power functions on a if you did this by hand basis, and it actually exhausts him on that level. To dry clothing by hand, just by hand, would be really exhausting, and he was already worn out by the day. So it's like, all right,
why bother with that?
All right.
Also,
anyway,
I know nothing. Ping Twilight. I thought we were talking about Arcane. Why are we bringing up Shad's book?
why are we talking about Arcane? Spider-Man's coming. No, sorry.
Oh, shut the fuck.
All right.
Most importantly, like most of the invocations of the cycle of violence in fiction, it failed spectacularly to actually apply it.
Okay, now you're going to have to actually name other examples of the cycle of violence in fiction.
Yes, please. Let's get away from Arcane for a second and actually talk about other cycle of violent narratives. And please tell us, 18 minutes into the 33-minute video, why they don't actually work.
Don't get me wrong, cycles of violence do exist, both in fiction and real life. But the problem with most of the invocations of the cycles of violence is that they forget or ignore that the cycle starts somewhere. The mere semantics of calling the situation of Piltover versus the Undercity the cycle of violence removes the agent and recipient of the violence. It's not like these two factions go to cyclical wars on equal grounds to fight for territory or resources. It's one side oppressing and brutalizing the other for generations.
No.
That is not how it works.
Cycle of violence turns everyone into a victim. That is the point of the cycle of violence.
Yeah.
As the generations go on, the original perpetuator of it and the original victim die off, and the only people that are left are just their children who become victims on both sides because they didn't choose to have a war or a conflict just brought upon them. They were born into it. Both of them are victims at that point.
Also, like, this is where I get irritated with a little bit with Arcane is I have no idea what initiated the start of the Zon rebellion from the very start of the story. Like, what was the impulse there? Because let's be clear, if Zon just suddenly sprung up one day and it was like, hey, we're going to beat the shit out of all the enforcers across the bridge, they're in the wrong. But I presume that they have a reason to go across the bridge. And I presume that somewhere along the way, communication broke down. I presume there was a whole deteriorating process where someone mistreated someone else, and in response, they mistreated back, and in response, it just kept going back and forth, maybe financially, maybe socially, maybe in some way, probably not violently at first, but it started to then spiral out of control, and that's how a cycle of violence works. There's a great little flash game you can play where it's just I can't remember, I've never played it myself, I've only seen people play it on like shorts and stuff, but it's a bunch of little stick men walking around a screen with a sign in the middle that projects photos from a journalist. You are the journalist, and you take snapshots of the world around you. And basically, as you start to see more interesting things happen, like, you know, you see the circle people wearing hats and square people wearing shoes or something like that. As you take pictures, it gets put up on screen, and more people are influenced by what happens on screen, so more things interesting happen. But what happens is a spiral that leads to violence, where you eventually end up with squares and circles hitting each other, and then everyone hating each other. It all just it spirals out of control.
Yeah,
and like it's a great Silco pissed on my wife. Shut up.
I'm come to make an announcement.
Yeah, Markiplier played that
pissed on my fucking wife.
But I heard the Zons were peacefully protesting that it turned violent. Wait, are you serious, or are you memeing about the fiery but mostly peaceful protests?
Like the thing that I think that this person is misunderstanding is that I think that she's getting mixed up with certain one-sided conflicts and calling that a cycle of violence because it keeps happening. But it's like because she's specifically saying that there is a definite oppressor, and that there is a definite victim, and that what the cycle of violence is just the continuation of the bully, for lack of a better word, continuing to bully their bullying victim.
Right.
And keep
Eric
going with
says
that.
the
But that's
writers
not
confirmed the thing.
that's not really what a cycle of violence is.
So your memory over. Okay, so I know nothing. Give us the lore dump. If I recall, Piltover and Zon were at one another for reasons of resources, and the fact that Zon started off as the mining town that supplied Piltover, there is no starting point known. Yeah, see, what I figure is that is just maybe prices raised somewhere along the line, and that pissed some people off, so they started raising prices on theirs, started a bit of a trade war or something like that going on. Wow, that's timely and not at all what I was thinking about.
I was actually just about to say that we have a real life example of that in Canada right now, because you have Alberta, who is mostly a resource province. They have a lot of oil and they have a lot of land for farming and stuff like that, but there is a lot of oil and potash and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of the conflicts that's going on in Canada right now is that they don't feel like they're getting the benefits of their labor, because it all go in their minds. And whether or not that's true, I'm not saying one way or the other, but in their minds, all of the profit goes to Ontario and Quebec. And so they feel slighted by that. And that is bringing a lot of conflict to the country.
Yeah, and so what I'm trying to emphasize here is that, like, she's missing the point. She thinks it as if, like, Piltover is still bullying the Undercity, when the Undercity, don't forget, and she's probably going to address it because she thinks that Jinx did nothing wrong. Jinx has bombed Piltover multiple times.
Yes.
Like, we are talking disastrous levels of death. Jinx is a multi-time terrorist. And it cannot be ignored that she committed horrible atrocities on Piltover on innocent people, arguably. So
this is what I fear. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to make my conclusion on that is both Zon and Piltover are the victim, and the only way to end the cycle is for both sides to agree to end the cycle. That is the only way for it to stop. You cannot have someone ultimately to blame. Do you know what happens when you have someone that gets blamed for a fight that ultimately may or may not have been their fault and no one can remember? you get fucking the Weimar Republic, aka Sieg Heil Man. All right.
Yeah.
You gotta be real fucking careful with that. You cannot ascribe blame to people who do not understand why they're being ascribed blame.
And by the way, that's just talking about, in that circumstance, that's like a war between, multiple countries. We're talking about a problem within a city or state itself, like a civil conflict. Not like the dynamics of that are drastically different at that point. And yet she's kind of ascribing one to the other, which is really, really weird.
Yeah.
Sorry, Twilight, you were going to say something?
If I remember.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to finish my point.
No, it's fine. What I'm afraid that is going to happen in this video is that she's going to say that Jinx did nothing wrong because she is a member of the underclass,
She's
the bully
part of the
group.
oppressed class, so of course it is totally justified to pull 9/11 times 10.
Yeah.
She's gonna pull a Michaela essentially, which, okay, I pray that that's not gonna happen. I pray that's
that
all
was
clickbait,
Lily's
just
whole
like the
thing
title.
too.
I mean, yes, absolutely, but I'm praying that just like the title, the thumbnail was clickbait.
Yeah. Mystic Master, this whole thing feels like it just to say Zahn is a victim and is only bad in response to Piltover and would be good if not for Piltover being mean. That is exactly where we fear this is going, yes.
Yeah.
I know nothing in game. The lore way to fix it is to go against the Void, which is another big bad of League lore, but neither side cares at this point or when they hate one another regardless. No, but that's actually one way of ending the cycle of violence is to introduce a third opposition that both sides can rally against together. Because
A la Watchmen.
What?
A la Watchmen.
Yeah, a la Watchmen. It's because if everyone sees that there is a common threat, humanity has an impulse to band together to fight it. It's just a thing that happens in psychology. I mean, and out of necessity, frankly speaking. So it's like that's often one way of resolving it. That's kind of what we saw at the end of the series, was that, the outside forces of Noxus, aka Mbessa, and the Hex cult were going to be like the uniting force for this conflict. That's what they wanted. It didn't quite coalesce, I think, how they wanted, but nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source? Phoenix Ashes. My source says I made it the fuck up.
Okay, now do that with a Russian accent. I'm joking.
Yeah, like I said, Mystic, they did that in the series. They just they didn't elaborate very much on it. Sevika just kind of shows up with a whole bunch of undergrounders, and no one talks about like the politics of the situations before, during, or after that. So it's like that's kind of the frustration, and I can commiserate with that. But saying that cycles of violence don't work as a narrative trope is ridiculous.
Yeah, no. They're some of the best stories of all time. If we're going by freaking Rotten Tomato scores, Avatar: The Last Airbender is right fucking there, lady. I don't know what you're talking about.
Maybe she hasn't seen it.
I very much doubt. I don't know. If she's seen Arcane, I feel like there's a huge chance
you can't presume that anymore. You can't presume that.
Yeah, no, you can't. You can't presume that.
Remember, Avatar: The Last Airbender came out 20 years ago, my friend.
God,
yeah, and like,
old.
like you can presume that everyone has seen Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z, but that's not necessarily true anymore.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty fair, but God, I'm old.
Everyone's watched Evangelion except for all the people that haven't watched Evangelion,
including me.
True, and y'all need to fix that. Anyway.
Don't worry, that's I'm leaning towards that being the next thing we watch.
Oh, I'm scared.
Sweet.
Don't be. It's not that bad.
Okay. Let me.
We went through Eureka 7 AO together. All right, I promise you, it will not be anywhere near as traumatizing.
Look. I have watched something related to Evangelion. Out of context, it was the movie.
Oh my God.
Can I be there for Ava? I have so much background lore. That's private watch time with us.
Yeah, sorry. We might talk about all of the shows that we've watched, but the actual watch together is a personal thing between us.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other side fighting back when pushed over the edge. But to name this a cycle would imply that the Zonids are in the wrong for resisting, that by resistance they enter the cycle and thus are equally to blame for perpetuating it. I'm sure that you or someone in your close proximity experience a situation of this sort. There is a child in school that is bullied or picked up upon, and nobody reacts to this. Pushed over the edge, the child fights back. The bully runs to snitch, and when the teacher comes to resolve the situation, they say, "I don't care who started it." Why don't you care who started it though? It does matter who started, because reactive violence is fundamentally different than just regular, unprompted violence.
Self-defense is different than reactionary violence and unprompted violence. Self-defense, not those other two are not permissible. I'm sorry.
Right.
It is God, people that don't understand this.
Yeah, also, like, the scale is incredibly fucking different. Like, yeah, the circumstance with, like, you know, schoolyard bullying stuff and involving children, of course, you know, who started is going to be much more important than a conflict that's happening in a city or state or country or wherever the fuck this is that is generational at this point.
God,
like you gotta handle that shit much different.
What if it was Zon that was the aggressor? What if it was Zon that were like, you know what? We're sick of selling these resources. We're going to up the prices on everything and price Piltover out of the market. And Piltover's like, fine, we're just not going to trade with you. And it started starving Zon. So they demanded, hey, you start buying our goods again. And so then they started saying, no, we're not going to. We can actually produce our own stuff just fine. And Zon comes over the bridge being like, you're going to buy our shit. Like, what if that was the scenario? We don't have any confirmation one way or the other.
But even then, she says that, like, oh, the show, it says that is trying to say that Zon is equally to blame. That's fucking bullshit. Pretty much, as far as I'm aware, everything in the show, even if we don't know the specific details, there is a lot of implication pointing in the direction of, you know, Piltover being the one that started it. How so, we don't fucking know. But given how we see much more, you know, sympathy and empathy pushed towards, you know, the Zonite characters or people adjacent to that, it seems to be going into that direction. It's not like they ignore. It's like I say in my Michaela video. You're acting like they ignored that Piltover were the main perpetuators of this shit. That's not what happened.
Piltover literally became a fascist dictatorship for a brief period of time here, guys. I mean, come on.
Yeah, what?
Like, we're not saying that Piltover is good in this scenario, but we're saying you cannot ignore the bad committed by Zon. One of my favorite quotes from Doctor Who is, you have a big pile of good and you have a big pile of bad, and they don't necessarily weigh each other out. Like, it's just a thing. You have two piles.
Yeah. Like, the whole point of, like, addressing both sides of the conflict and saying that we have to break the cycle regardless of who started is, like what Raymond said earlier, at a certain point, people are going to forget how it started anyway. And, you know, lines in the sand need to be drawn in order to keep people safe.
Yeah.
Jinx thought she would break the cycle by self-destruction. Like, that was ultimately her thing, is that she wanted to self-destruct because it would end the cycle. But, like,
yeah,
that may be another solution, is having one party do that. But, yeah, I don't know. It's like, probably not the best option there.
Well, no, because, like, the problem with that idea is that she isn't the sole
that's
perpetrator. Sorry?
True.
Yeah, that's the big part. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because, like, she's just a cog in the machine. If you take out one cog, that doesn't mean that the whole machine is going to fall apart. Like, possibly one part of it will no longer function, but the rest of it will go on. in order to do that, she would have to take a lot more with her than just herself.
She would have to take
Like
all the
the
Jinxers,
conflict.
at the very minimum.
Honestly,
Well,
yeah.
like
'Cause-
everyone pretty much who on one side or the other.
Well, I just
in
say the
order to do
Jinxers
that.
at the minimum because, well, I mean, they would probably take up her mantle in the same way that you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So like it would be ineffectual because you're basically trying to reroute a river by taking out a bucket of water.
Right.
It
It
wouldn't work.
proves out of someone's
Yeah,
mistreatment
your arms
and will
would
never
hurt
be
a
on the
whole
same
lot,
scale
you know?
of
You'll
moral
get
wrongness
cramps everywhere. I'm joking.
as the initiatory violence, if it's morally wrong at all. Naming this a cycle or obfuscating the reality of it by insinuating that it doesn't matter who started works to absolve the culprit who started the cycle. And in many instances, the party that is retaliating is met with more condemnation than the party who started it.
Well, it's probably because the people that initiated it are more than likely dead and gone by now. Silco and Vander are gone. The old guard of Piltover have probably been traded out. The only person left is fucking Heimerdinger, and that man's a puffball of pure joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he's
Not to mention,
he's neglectful at most.
again, regardless of who started it, Jinx caused 9/11. I feel like that's a pretty big thing to blame on. Like, what?
I was gonna say, before that, she murdered 5 officers.
Yeah, that weren't
Well, like,
even doing anything wrong. They were just defending a piece of technology.
This lady is effectively saying that it does matter who started it because they need to ultimately be held responsible. But here's the thing, lady. Like we've been talking about before, we don't know how long this conflict has been going on. Yeah, Raymond said Silco and Vander are both gone, but we know for a fact that they didn't start the conflict. The conflict was already going on, and yeah, it kind of got worse because of them, or it just kept perpetuating because of them, but they didn't start it.
Yeah, how far do you want to go back? If this started at like a trade war, do we want to go back to the first person that raised prices? Like how far do you want to go back exactly? How do you punish them? Where do you put the blame if one person did one action and it caused a domino effect? Do you blame the person for I pushed a cart down a hill and it's now in the way of the road, so it stops someone from traveling? Like, how responsible am I for these certain things by doing small little actions that I could have in no way of understanding would have these long-lasting ramifications? Who do you blame? Like, you're asking for the impossible.
Well,
Pete,
also,
don't tell me she's gonna defend that. No, no
oh
way.
god. Well, like, what if the original perpetuator of this died 200 years ago?
Exactly.
How are you going to punish them?
Yeah. Like, are you going to do it like generationally? You find their children, like you find their grandchildren, you find their descendants, and you punish them? Why? They didn't do anything. Their parents may have. Like they're like, but you can't do that. The sins of the father do not go down to do not become the sins of the son. That's like a pretty core principle of any civilized society.
Now, of course, there are things that should be done in regards to, whatever systems were in place that disadvantaged zones, citizens, and, the neglect by the council definitely needs to be addressed. But to say they need to be outright, I don't know, punished in the way that Jinx did is pretty fucking wild. Also, I know nothing says Heimerdinger also doesn't predate the Zon Piltover Buildover as well from my memory. Oh, really? I thought he was there when it started.
That in Arcane lore, I was pretty sure he said that he was there when the city was founded. Like 300 years ago.
Oh, Brian Carson said, but Kaiser, Jinx is, Jinx is pretty hot, like so it's forgivable, the little bit of mass murder that's I can fix her. I can work with that.
No, sir, that's Lux's job. Anyway,
Ugh, gross.
God damn it! You should have pulled a Rick.
Morty, lesbians. All right.
You need to be stopped.
Okay, I was making a joke there. You know that.
Yeah,
I
was
know.
literally
I said
asking-
your jokes need to stop.
And yet you laugh. All right.
That is because the violence of those stronger against the weaker ones rests safely in the status quo. In class society, we are conditioned from birth to accept inequalities as an inevitable part of life, and the violence of oppression is often something we become accustomed to, or even apathetic to.
You want to know why we become accustomed to inequalities? Is because inherently humanity is unequal. It's a hard lesson to learn, but we are. Now, does that mean we are unequal in value? No. Every human life is just as valuable as the next. Every single human life should be treated as precious and cared for as best as possible. But are we equal in our placement in the world? Are we equal in our ability to do certain things? Are we equal in our intelligence? Are we equal in our creativity? No. No, and to say that we should all be equal, to say that we should all, that inequality in itself is inherently a bad thing, is to kind of scrub out the nature of human individuality. If we do not have flaws, how do we define our strengths?
That is the current issue that all of the tech bros who go after AI are trying to purposefully eradicate.
Yeah, there's that element.
Wait, they're
The
trying to what?
inequality.
Like,
They're trying to erase the fact that they're bad, that they
Yeah,
don't
and
have
you know what
any
we call
skills
them?
in
Little
art.
bitches that need to actually shut up and draw.
yeah.
Yeah.
Pick up a
I
pen, bitch,
have
and-
actually gotten better at drawing because of the Sketchy Huntsman, because I've been around artists and I've talked to them. I've treated them as equals and I have learned tricks.
Yeah, but like in regards to this whole thing, yeah, I'm trying to figure out a way how to put this without repeating what I said before. But it's like yeah, at some point, you know, you're going to have to react, depending on like the severity of the oppression. And yeah, there are times when, you know, just simply accepting the inequality, especially to like an extreme degree, can be harmful. Like that's absolutely true. This is why it's important to, gather around and establish certain infrastructures that can help make things better. All right. And I'm not even against necessarily like, I don't know, some kind of major action in regards to Piltover, depending on how bad things really are. Blowing up the council is the worst thing you could do in that situation.
Eric,
flat
I would
out.
not add Lux to Arcane. All right, like she belongs. From what I know about Lux, she deserves her own show as a main protagonist. I think as Demacia. Like I would add Jinx to her show for what I would like, but like I would not. I wouldn't thread her into Arcane, at least not as Arcane wants to be. I've mentioned there's a fic that I like that has her in it, and I think it's okay. Let's see.
Right.
Lily in her Dragon Age video gladly describes killing a bunch of cursed humans because they're a part of the more privileged class. Don't be like Lily. Yes, do not be like Lily.
No.
It is probably a safe bet that if you ask yourself, what would Lily do, and you do the opposite, you're probably doing the right thing.
Yeah, guys, don't touch your sister.
Oh my God, Kaiser! Immediately, you're bringing that up.
Wait, you've always done this all the time whenever we bring up...
I have nuance! I typically use very vague language to it, and then you immediately go for the kill. Please don't add Lux to Arcane.
Kaiser.
She is very well where she is over... Yeah, no, I absolutely. I would not. I'm more prone to add more Piltover and Zon characters to Arcane from League of Legends lore. I would not... I think adding Demacia to the mix would probably just be too chaotic politically. Noxus is already enough. Maybe mention them, like definitely like maybe have a Demacian character show up somewhere, but like probably like, oh, what was it? Israel, I think his name is. He's like a thief type character. He could probably show up for a cameo or two. Kind of tease a Demacia series, that sort of thing. Anyway. I just realized I know surprising amount of League lore just because of the fics that I've read.
Wow.
But is it not violence for the police to raid homeless encampments? Is it not violence?
I mean, we could get into the fine details of land ownership if you want.
To force children to work in the toxic cobalt mines so that the privileged percents can get a new iPhone every year.
That is actually immoral. That is genuinely immoral. It's a horrible curse of our reality that to get cheap electronics, we have these horrible places across the world. And it's one of those things that, like, you can't square that away. It's really hard to.
No,
yeah,
you would have
like
to get the government for however many places that the company that is doing this practice actually involved and like punish them.
Yeah, the worst part is that like there are so many hands in this pie. Basically every advanced country is doing this.
Yeah, and it's not even advanced countries. It's the poor countries selling their own poor. That's basically like a lot of them do. And it really sucks. Like you can't win in this scenario, and I hope one day we find a solution to that, but right now
it's going to take a lot of sacrifice and people being
also
willing to, like, you know, give up a lot of these things.
Well, also, like, you can't just boil it down to this one thing, because it is a lot more complicated than what she mentioned, and that solving the issue isn't going to be as simple as just saying thing bad.
Yeah, or that somebody said, "Oh, who was the first who did the child slavery?" You know, like that.
And you know what? And you know what? I've learned now, thanks to a certain movie, that the children yearn for the mines. And how can that be wrong?
Oh my God.
If they do. I joke, of course.
What movie is that?
Minecraft.
Yeah.
They literally use the children yearn for the mines joke in there.
Yes.
Oh.
I heard about that meme. It's so funny.
No, it's in the trailer. Like, they actually use it in the trailer. It's like, as a child, I yearned for the mines. Great. Okay.
I never watched the trailer to that or watched the movie because
I didn't see the trailer.
Minecraft was after my time.
I was right. I was there at, I want to say, the beta, before any of the fancy features were added, and man, that was a time.
I know nothing as who is the first to do the child slavery? The answer is Noxus. It's usually God damn, bro.
Violence to, in the pursuit of progress and technology, dump toxic wastes to the forgotten underground and put children into prisons without trial. To resist this violence in however capacity one has is not only expected, but also admirable. These people fight back not for personal benefits, but for the futures, lives, and well-being of themselves and their children.
Or unless you're Jinx, where you do it for pure revenge.
Or if you're Silco for basically the same reason. Also, you do realize that you noted earlier that Silco created super drugs that by your admission made the lives of the Zonites worse.
Yes.
That made them suffer more. So you're basically saying that one form of oppression is bad, but the other form of oppression is good because it's for the greater good.
The greater good.
I love Hot Fuzz, but
Hot
bro,
Fuzz is
what
great.
the fuck? Where's the honor in that? Yo, there's an you know what?
Name one honorable Zonite character.
Name one honorable drug dealer.
Yeah, I'm genuinely thinking Vander, Vi,
Echo.
Echo?
And
everyone in the chat saying Echo.
Yeah, I was gonna say Firelights, maybe. And I don't know. Vi is honorable, but she's crass. Like, I don't know. Even then, I don't know.
Yeah,
Vander's
she's
friend-
not exactly unflinching in all of her morals.
Benzo,
though.
yeah, Benzo is good.
Benzo's a good bean.
But yeah, the Chem Barons were doing things explicitly for profit. They were just as bad as the Piltovers, if not worse. Like,
right.
so it's I don't. You are not paying attention to just how bad things are.
I don't know, man. I don't remember Piltover pulling fucking human experimentation and conscripting like freaking children into fighting.
Yep.
Like, I'm not saying that Zaun is necessarily as a whole worse, or I can more likely see that they started the violence. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that you are praising their actions like this, but you're completely ignoring that there's another subgroup of oppression going on right now.
Does Victor count? I don't know. The man tried to indoctrinate everyone using space magic. I don't know how to rank that, being honest.
The third impact, so I don't know about that.
Arcane's first season shows us that all actions undertaken by Zonids are done directly in response to the brutalization they endured at the hands of Piltover.
And all the actions in Piltover are taken at the hands of the brutalization suffered from the Zonites. There would have been no further investigation or ramp up of the enforcers had Jinx not stolen the fucking Hex Crystal. Like, I don't...
Pretty much.
Yeah, you're completely ignoring one half of the equation here.
Yeah.
Including Jinx's attack on the console. Jinx herself is a pretty peculiar example of someone who becomes a symbol almost by accident. To continue with the Hunger Games comparison, she is sort of like Katniss Everdeen.
No. Jinx became a symbol completely by accident.
Yes.
She had no intent to lead a revolution. Katniss was hand-chosen to become a symbol because of how much she fucked over the system. She actually got brought into the fold by a different organization. Jinx was never brought into the fold by goddamned anyone.
In fact, after she blew up the council...
Oh yeah, Isha.
Yeah, except for Isha. But after she blew up the council, she just ran away and did her own thing, and other Zonites are hunting her down.
They want to sell her for fucking cash.
And a box of scraps. Anyway, I'm joking.
Katniss never intended to start a chain of reaction that led to the revolution of the districts, when she and Pita decided to take the poison berries so that Capital has no victor. Similarly, Jinx's attacks against Piltover are random and a result of her deranged state of mind, rather than actual revolutionary sentiment, but have you noticed one peculiar thing?
But they're not random. The first one was to steal the Hex Gem. The second major attack was to blow up the bridge and basically try to kill Caitlyn, I want to say.
Yeah, try to kill Caitlyn, take the Hex Crystal. Hex Gem, sorry.
Yeah, take the Hex Gem. And the fourth attack was her enraged over the death of her father figure and the entire nature of the deal and she was just sick of the war.
Yeah.
And she just wanted to try and end it in the most expedient way possible by destroying the council.
And Katniss, like, the reason why she and Peta were going to eat the berries was as a fuck you rebellion. To... Yeah, it was an act of rebellion. Like, an active rebellion to one single thing that they were in at the moment. And it had no emotional resonance for them. It was an act of survival.
Yep.
They're completely different things, my girl.
Yeah. These are all very contextual, and you're not... Oh, God.
Nelson Mandela explicitly decried attacking uninvolved civilians in apartheid South Africa. Yeah,
based!
Exactly.
Based?
Yeah, based. But no, guys, he didn't go far enough. He needed ship.
That's why my friend has bars on his window. I have friends in South Africa, My friend actually showed me video, like when we were in Discord together, he put on his camera and he showed me around his house and all the bars on his windows.
Damn.
Yeah, he doesn't live there anymore, thankfully. I think
Thankfully.
he's
Okay,
working
great.
in Norway now. But yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's nice.
Never once targeted non-combatants. Her kill count against Piltover includes 6 enforcers, enforcers on the bridge, enforcer Marcus. All members of the violence apparatus of Piltover and therefore combatants.
She used high explosives. She targeted her own sister was actually wrapped up in that. Echo was wrapped up in that.
Yeah. Not to mention, like the enforcers that she blew up when she took the hex gem, like we don't know how much harm they are perpetuating against like Zaun explicitly. In fact, there's still the deal between Silco and Marcus, which is to keep the freaking enforcers off the streets.
Yeah.
So like, what have those particular people even done? We don't know. If anything, the freaking the civil war between Piltover and Zaun was before their time anyway.
Yeah.
Probably.
So,
like,
absolutely. Most of them were pretty young, all things considered. I think the oldest one was probably like in his early 40s. Like,
if
best
I were
I can
to guess,
remember.
yeah.
Yeah. Like, they didn't do anything. They were rushing into a burning building because they heard a scared, crying child.
Yes. Oh my god.
Okay, you want to know something? That is considered a war crime.
Yeah. Also, chat, you're absolutely right. She fought against the Firelights, who were trying to stop them from smuggling drugs.
She has murdered. We see child with gas poisoning. We see a child that got gas poisoned by her in season 2. Like,
yes. Oh my fucking god.
I want to say Jinx did nothing wrong. The only one who's actually done nothing wrong is like Echo.
Echo has done nothing wrong.
Real.
Via's fucked up, but she keeps trying to make up for it.
Yeah.
Kaylin attempted to fuck up and kept failing.
Izanagi says, for $5, this person seems very much ends justifies the means, and wow, way to miss the nuance.
That's always the problem.
She didn't miss the nuance, she blew it up.
So many people that ends justify the means for them. It really it sickens me.
Which, in a way, I empathize and understand why that is the case. You know, because for a lot of people, again, especially those that are like younger than our generation, it keeps seeming like things are just getting worse and worse and not getting any better. But at the same time,
the ends justify.
Right.
If the ends justify the means, then the means make you deserve the ends. That's kind of the philosophy to live by, which is, if you think that, you're going to wind up with a situation that you did not want, but you're going to deserve it. That's kind of it.
I was about to say, live by the sword, die by the sword, dude.
Precisely.
Mm-hmm.
Watch together. Hello?
It was working.
It's not working for me.
Oh dear. Refresh.
All right, I think it worked. Rewind.
Includes 6 enforcers, enforcers on the bridge, enforcer Marcus. All members of the violence apparatus of Piltover and therefore combatants, and 3 of the council members, representatives of the state and therefore, while not combatants, not civilians either. And now I know what you're going to say, but the council was approving Zaun's independence, and Jinx ruined any possibility of reconciliation by recklessly shooting that rocket. That is no doubt the way the writers of the show want you to read the situation, but how about we apply one good death of the author here? I don't believe that the council voting on Zaun's independence would have changed anything. The mere fact that Piltover's council is the one deciding on the matter of the liberation of Zon shows the immense power they have over them.
Because it's
This
one
is-
city.
Yes,
It's
and
they
also
they have the
they're
power
relinquishing
over
that
their own
power.
fucking borders. Yes.
Yeah, and also they are actively relinquishing that power to let them do what they want, so they can
But-
stop blowing
but
their
wait!
shit up.
There's more. Fucking Silco was going to go back on the deal.
Yeah,
He was going to be the one to fuck it up.
yeah. If anything, he probably just did that in order to like give him enough time to build his empire and probably start an active war against Piltover.
Piltover is literally above Zon. Well, not in the show. In the show, it's sort of like above and to the left. Death of the author equals my headcanon is true. Yeah, that's not how you use Death of the author.
I literally just said that this is just headcanon because you cannot know for sure that this is going to be the result. You are making a speculation pulled out of your ass.
Not to mention, no
cannot
one is
know.
saying, no one is saying that like, oh, Piltover Lang Zon having their independence is gonna be the end all be all for the conflict. But it's a damn good start, all things considered.
Ed Savinsky says, "How much do you bet she moderates her comments?" I don't want to make any accusations like that.
Wait, that's a little far.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
that's a
Unless we have evidence of it, like with, say, Chad.
Yeah.
that's a whole other issue. But like fucking, and again, it's in their borders. Of course, it would be up to their decision to want to be freaking liberated. I'm sorry, lady. Are you really going to? What kind of reality would we live in if any given state would just want to say, "Oh, I want my own country now with blackjacks and hookers," just out of nowhere, without any sort of negotiation or any kind of deal being made to accommodate all parties involved.
Mystic
That's
Master,
fucking Maverick.
Mystic Master says, "Now I am just wondering what would have happened if Jinx didn't supposedly fake her death and had to face legal consequences for her crimes."
I mean, she that's a good
question.
She would probably not. This person would probably not have very good things to say about that. Let's just say.
The thing is, there's the caveat that you helped save us from an invasion. There might be some level of clemency given to her.
Okay, are you talking about so after season 2? I thought they were talking about after season 1.
No, I think it's after season 2 because she didn't presume to die. Season 1, she just vanished.
Right.
So I would think that she would be given some level of clemency, but I don't know what that would look like. Whether or not that'd be I do not think it would be a full pardon, but it would probably get her like a comfy spot in jail for like a couple of years. I don't know. I feel like that'd be a very complicated situation, and I don't know where the council would come down on that.
Izanagi says, Kaiser, welcome to seasteading. Oh man, okay. Well.
Oh dear.
Also, Eric, make my own country with blackjacks and hookers. Kaiser showing for president 2028.
Malasia. We'll call it Malasia. Anyway.
As Asata Shakur, a member of Black Liberation Army, once said, "Nobody in the world, nobody in history, has ever gotten their freedom by appealing to the moral sense of the people who were oppressing them."
Gandhi.
Lots of people have. Most of the people from the British Empire, like, after America fought for their independence, the next, 100 years was people just politely asking Britain to not be in the Empire anymore, and they gave up. And
Britain was like, we're not dealing with that again. You can have it.
Yeah. Not to mention. Go ahead.
Also, it's different because they took place over decades and at least 100 years. You have at least a minimum of 2 different monarchs. Most of which was the previous queen, but that's also why the majority of us are still within the
Commonwealth.
British Commonwealth. Yeah. because we still have that good relationship with Britain, even though that we wanted our full independence.
Most slavery ended without a civil war. Now, we had a civil war that ended slavery. That's a very complicated situation in of itself, but most slavery in first world countries, like in England, like in Germany, like in France, ended peaceably without firing a single shot.
Almost like America is the problem child.
Well, we ended it first. Right? Well, sorry.
No, you did not.
England, sorry, I would correct myself. England's ended it in the in mainland England. I think then around the same time it ended in the colonies as the Civil War. But like, to be fair, the Civil War was a much more complicated situation than anyone wants to say. It wasn't just slavery. So like that was like that was a big a big chunk of it, but it was also like one like 50%.
Well, there were some really bad stuff like right after it, like sharecropping and shit.
Yeah.
I think because of the way that the US was set up, with them being so dependent on slavery, that is what caused the conflicts. Whereas I don't think that that was necessarily as set in stone for other places like Britain.
Yeah, that's true.
Britain wasn't relying on slave labor in order to keep the country going, for instance.
Right. I mean, let's look at who was left on the council who would specifically be judging Jinx. Everyone.
Yeah, so
I mean, Billy! Yeah! Finally, you can get the cold donuts!
Warm. Yeah. I complained earlier that I had a warm donut.
Most people like warm donuts. Is a donut supposed to be cold?
Well, like it's been it has filling in it. So warming it would make it all drippy.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
Right. But like going back to this, like this also okay. It depends on what is meant by appealing to the moral sense of the people who are oppressing them. Like, what does appealing to them mean necessarily? Like but because people usually invoke this in these discussions, usually mean that, oh, everybody just sits on their hands and, politely asks for independence or to be treated better, when that is absolutely not the case. There are humane ways to protest and to advocate for, disadvantaged populations and oppressed populations. Blowing up the council is not one of those things.
Ryan, just tell them the state's rights to secede from the Union. That's the answer. And after that, it gets more complicated, because that's why they wanted to secede in the first place. That's the more morally dubious thing.
Because usually, from what I know, the reason why they wanted to secede was because they wanted to keep slavery.
Yeah,
so technically
that and their finances, that sort of thing. But the right to secede was actually enshrined in a lot of their charters and a lot of the Constitution, and that ultimately was where, hey, we don't like that you're leaving us because we like your money. That was kind of like the North's position on things. Remember, the South does not have to be the good guy for the North to be the bad guy. They can both be bad guys in many different ways.
Yeah.
The more I learned about the Civil War, the less I like either side of it, and it makes me very sad.
Calvin Jefferson Davis.
It's kind of funny with what's going on with Alberta right now, because they're like, yeah, we want to separate from Canada, and then all of the native people of Alberta is like, no, the fuck you ain't. That's our land, bitches.
No, you ain't.
And
then
also, Lost Coyote
we conquered you fair and square. Shut up.
The Lost Coyote says, you don't have
I'm
to
sorry,
punch
but
people
unlike
in the
America,
end,
we actually kind of care about our native peoples.
Sad but true.
We gave them an acre of land. All right. I'm
An
kidding.
acre.
That's the joke. I don't actually know.
Yeah. We were promised what was it? 3 acres and a mule, and look how that turned out.
All right.
Let me continue to apply the death of the author by making yet another bold statement. The reason why the council pinky promised to grant zones independence in exchange of Jinx was not because they were earnest about it, but because they knew that Jinx's action will inspire the Zonids to fight back in bigger numbers. And indeed, wouldn't you know, after she launches that attack, she becomes a symbol of resistance for the Zonids.
Except you're ignoring the reason that Jace made the deal in the first place was that he knew they would wipe out the Zonites.
Yeah, what?
Jace offered Silco because he saw the power of Hextech, and he knew that they would basically commit a genocide by proxy. And he did not want that because it horrified him. He wanted to be a good person.
How do you think other systems of oppression throughout the fucking planet have been solved? Do you honest to God think that America just left South Africa alone and stopped the apartheid out of the goodness of their hearts? Absolutely not.
Everyone has an alternative motive. Like they're always there. But you gotta take the good you can find.
What is the name a single conflict in the I'm not a historian, okay? So y'all can tell me. Name me a single major conflict of that scale in the history of the planet that got ended because the leaders thought, "Are we the baddies?" You know, like I don't know, man. I can't. It's so crazy.
I individually like these consular,s especially Jace and Mel, but it does not change the fact that they kinda had it coming.
Why did Jace and Mel deserve anything they got?
They kinda had it coming! Oh yeah, the guys that were actively trying to prevent the fucking genocide!
The guys that were actively trying to stop a fucking war, to stop the oppression of the fucking Zonites, they deserved it? Fuck you! Even Caitlin's mom didn't deserve that shit. She was just a priss. That's all that her problem was.
Oh my god.
Now Sallow deserved it.
Yeah, Sallow,
But he survived.
Unfortunately, Josh Keaton did deserve it this one time. I'm sorry, dude.
The Techno Union, jury's out on them.
Believe it or not, even in the Geneva Conventions, it is written that occupied people have the right to resist.
They weren't occupied! It was literally the same fucking city! What are you talking about? It's not an independent nation. It never has been. There was a dream made by Silco to try and address the wrongs that were happening to his people in the underground because they were starting to see themselves as an independent group.
Guys, what did I say? I fucking precogged this. Well, not exactly precog. She kind of let it slip a little bit in the beginning. But she's making this seem like it is a conflict between two countries, you know, two separate countries, both of which started off separate before, you know, one just started trying to get their territory or whatever and started oppressing the other one, when that is not what the fuck is happening. They are in the same fucking city.
Jason Mel benefited from Piltover's wealth and privilege, combatants, and they used that privilege and wealth in order to try and build technology that would benefit the lives and save people's lives and benefit their ability to work. They would have sped up the production of goods in Zon and elevated it at an exponential rate by their Hextech technology. Like, you can't ignore that they were aiming to try and help everyone using the resources they had at their disposal. They realized that they were privileged in doing that.
Yeah, a couple things. Number one, Rival says, only time was from, I think it was in response to my conflict question. Only one time was from a certain point of view, Vietnam, though that was more of a general war fatigue and a belief that South Vietnam would and could handle the North on its own with the help. Which, okay, fair. But Ryan says, But Kaiser, moral soapboxing makes people feel good about themselves, right? Who cares? Who cares if it's not effective? If it makes them feel better, it's about possible white.
Isa asks, does she just want the Russian Revolution and the complete death of the ruling party? Look how that turned out. I know you're referring to the Anastasia and the Romanov family thing, but that considering what's going on in Russia right now,
yeah, for real,
you got to be careful, man. One of my patrons actually got arrested for being a separatist.
Yeah,
I still can't believe that happened. That was the weirdest thing.
Yeah. I hope that he's surviving okay.
Yeah, I hope he's fine.
All I can say.
And I mean when I say that Jinx didn't do anything wrong. Whenever she attacked Piltover, she targeted the Enforcers and the ruling council of Piltover. I doubt Piltover ratified the Geneva Conventions, but according to the international law of our world, Jinx had every right to resist.
No.
They're international separate countries.
Yeah, it's interesting. You want to know what's...
no UN in Arcane. What the fuck?
You want to know something interesting? Technically speaking, tear gas is considered a war crime because chemical weaponry is banned. However, it is okay for police to use on their own populace. We can talk about that if you want. That's a whole discussion about what is proportional force. But tear gas, which is a less lethal, very less lethal tactic, is considered immoral in terms of warfare. It doesn't make any sense. There's a lot of things that don't make a lot of sense, but they're done anyway because of historical precedent. So going off the Geneva Convention, not always the greatest thing, though. To be fair, we have called out war crimes that she's done in the past. So yeah.
So there's that.
And she did so not because she engaged in some cycle of violence for shits and giggles, but because she and her people had endured generations of...
Let them all burn!
Jinx doesn't give a single fuck about other Zonites. I'm sick and tired of this cult. I'm sorry.
She never wanted to be a symbol. Like, the first time that she felt anything towards other people, like the general population, is getting thanked as everyone was leaving the prison in season 2. That was it.
Yeah.
That was the moment that she ever tried to elevate herself at all. And even then, she then just kind of withdrew back into herself to go hang out with her dad.
Yeah, even that, like, specifically talking about season 1, she does not give a single fuck. If she did, she would have cooperated more with Silco and her and the rest of his men, especially Sevika. But she didn't, because all she cares about is just fucking up whoever looks at her funny and proving that she is strong, that she isn't as weak as she was as a kid.
She's not a Jinx.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you miss the
mark? Which is a self-fulfilling prophecy, given the conflict that's going on.
Literally, we brought it up earlier. Like, let them all burn was like one of the last lines that Silco said to her and had ringing through her ears as she fired a rocket to basically try and end the council or start a war. Or both.
Yeah. Yeah, like this, if anything, you're kind of missing a really interesting point that the show is pushing, which is that in a lot of times, depending on the conflicts, right, that happen across the world, especially like individuals who are part of like oppressed populations, they at a certain point they do like very they commit to some like crazy or terrorist like actions, not even simply as a result of seeing that the oppression is wrong, but because it affected them personally, and they just want to get like their revenge. It's a personal thing. God. And that can fuck up the entire process.
I'm just sick of people being so callous towards human life. Like, these people have never been near a fucking fight in their life before and know how terrifying it is to come within an inch of getting their lives taken away from them. It is fucking hell.
Like, well, not even just taken away from them, but they never have to take it away from somebody else.
Yeah, that fucks you up too. Killing other
Yes.
people fucks you up hard.
Yeah.
Of oppression at the hands of Piltover. The only thing I could genuinely criticize Jinx for is that she's an adventurist, and her violence is aimless and does not serve some tactical purpose. The violence of the resistance should always have a specific aim, rather than just blowing people up
So
on a
you
whim.
do understand. Why are you going to bat for her anyway?
And it's not aimless! She was literally stealing the Hex Gem! She was literally trying to kill Caitlyn! She was literally trying to kill the Council! These were all things she literally intended to do! They were not tactically... She was not tactical in terms of the Greater Rebellion because she's not part of a Greater Rebellion!
Yeah, she doesn't care about any of that. Which, hey, as long as we're in agreement, what the fuck is the point of you defending her actions then?
Jesus Christ.
But there was potential to change that. There was potential for Jinx to develop true revolutionary consciousness, had she accepted herself as a symbol of Zone. This would be especially meaningful considering that Powder felt like she was a nuisance, holding everyone back. She felt like her mere presence in other people's lives is a jinx, that she is destined to always hurt those she loves. To have the situation reversed like that, to have Jinx become a symbol of hope for not just her family, but to hundreds and thousands of Zonids, would have been nothing short of beautiful.
But she didn't want that.
Yeah.
She wanted her sister and her family.
Yes. Do you understand what a freaking character is? Like, what? This
No,
whole
I
thing
think-
for her has been completely personal.
I think that this person has a narrative in their head that if something happened in this specific way, that then the show would be beautiful. But for some unknown reason that they can't fathom because they don't pay attention to character stuff, they don't understand why it didn't work and therefore the story is bad.
Hell,
Cousin, do you even media literacy?
But like even then, like let's go even one step further, okay? I would argue that even though Silco relatively is like way more organized by comparison for obvious reasons, I wouldn't even call him that much of a proper revolutionary either, because all of his shit is self-interested and revenge driven as well.
Yes.
And
Like,
it would
he might not be as chaotic, but he is certainly is more evil. He's lawful evil.
He is lawful evil compared to Jinx's
Yeah.
chaotic evil. Easily.
Exactly.
Yes.
also be a compelling contrast to Vi, who, by all intents and purposes, becomes a collaborator. Prior to the release of Season 2, co-creator Christian Link said, "What makes a difference is that now Silco is no more. For the first time, Jinx has to make her own decisions. There's no one there to tell her who she's supposed to be," which was a really big change. And for Vi, I think, suddenly feeling like an outsider in the Undercity, and seeing also the Undercity start to think of Jinx as the true Zonid, and the person that stands up to the aggression of the Topsiders, is a difficult thing for Vi to deal with. But the show backs away from this to have her instead aid her oppressors in an invasion and fake her death for everyone's happiness.
Aid her oppressors in an invasion. You mean during an invasion
Yeah,
that would have
they were the ones
detrimented
being
both
invaded.
of them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You know, my revolutionary tendencies might have to go out the door when a godlike deity is trying to indoctrinate me into a hive mind.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I might take exception to losing my individuality and sense of self. I might have some problems.
Yeah,
with
man,
that.
a tiny bit. You know, all I gotta say is, listen, police brutality is bad, but can we just focus on fighting against fucking Ultron right now?
Yes, please.
As it turns out, the solution to the Zone oppression was never to fight it back. It was for the oppressed to aid their bodies, lives, dreams, and aspirations in service of the oppressor. Season 2 scapegoats Jinx.
Sometimes reaching out with the olive branch is the best solution. To be the first person, and this is why a third party is useful, because someone has to offer the olive branch to work together.
Thanks, Mbessa.
Yeah, thanks, Mbessa. If you offer an olive branch and you say, hey, I want to stop the fighting, guess what happens? The fighting has potential to stop. I'm not saying it's a guarantee.
It's going to, yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but you have the potential to stop the violence.
Especially, again, when a third party is active and actively trying to super oppress you.
Oh. Chet Manley, good name. 93. This woman, Jinx is a hero of revolution, did nothing wrong. Jinx, I'm going to commit various unforgivable war crimes!
Yeah, like she said, also she's talking on both sides of her mouth. Like she said earlier that Jinx's actions were justified, completely justified, and yet
but
she
then untargeted
also,
and not tactical.
Yeah, but her actions weren't exactly, tactical. She's not exactly a whole revolutionary, but I could fix her.
Chuckles, I said a war cry. Oh, I'm going to commit various unforgivable war crimes. I'll be wanted in every country. God, I love those shorts.
As the person who has to end the cycle of violence she never started and never benefited from. Atone for her retaliatory violence she was pushed to commit by circumstances beyond her control.
She could have literally not fired the nuclear weapon at the council.
Yeah, that probably would have
just not done that.
Great idea, Like
she had every opportunity. She literally had her sister right there, and her sister's girlfriend, and her dad, and she could have just sat down and talked with them.
Yep. Could have just done that. But, I mean, understandably, for character reasons, she didn't do that.
But that was an option on the table.
Yeah.
And in the process, sacrifice her own personal happiness and fulfillment. Dishonored rebellion never happens. By the end of this story, the true enemy is Victor and the Noxians. With the show being called Arcane, it was inevitable that the dangers of the Arcane would be the overarching conflict of the story. And that would be perfectly fine if only the Zone versus Piltover was resolved in any meaningful way. And the worst thing about it is that, in Season 1, we are shown that the oppressed rejecting the cycle of violence doesn't work. How else?
What? No, it does. But
yeah, it did
literally, a wrong was committed, and they were about to actually hand in peaceably and go away for a few years, then come back, probably all the better. And you know who fucked it up? An underworlder.
Yeah. Silco went out of his way to screw the freaking pooch.
Only to ironically end up in the exact same situation. Okay, maybe a little bit different, but like...
Essentially the same situation. Like, he has to be forced to either give up Jinx or perpetuate the cycle. And in the end, that's exactly what he chose. To perpetuate it. He told Jinx to burn them all. Burn them all!
It's the exemplary of Vander is the one who is sensible and understands that to end violence, you must be kind and offer a route forward for your oppressor. Like, you must have that option. Like,
yeah, that's the nature of the deal. If anything, the inciting incident of the story happened because Vi and the others went out of their way to try to steal Jace's shit.
Yep. After being told explicitly not to go topside by their dad.
Yeah. So what? It's not even a result of like, not going forward with the cycle of violence doesn't work. It was working. Someone decided not to make it work.
Greed was the crack. The Zonites are just as greedy, but they're just in different ways.
Dude, we call that shimmer. Come on.
To describe the status quo Vander enforced. Following the failed uprising, he believed that the way forward was to negotiate and compromise with those who considered him lesser, as shown with his deal with Grace.
Fuck off. Grayson seems to have a great respect for Vander.
Yeah.
The two of them seem to have a very good rapport, and it seems like they have a very clear understanding of one another and their places in the world. They both mutually agree that overarching violence between the two halves of the city is bad, okay? Like I don't know where you're pulling this from. Who disrespected Vander? No one.
Yeah.
People loved Vander. Except for the other Zonites who were frustrated that he wasn't doing quote-unquote enough.
Yeah, but even then, it's like, okay, let's say Vander started the revolution against Piltover. They would have lost. It would have been instant wipe.
Why do you think they didn't win last time?
Yeah, when one side has the guns, you don't fuck with the guy who has all the guns.
Oh, man. Fucking hell.
Like, it's that freaking simple. I don't know why this is such a hard thing to believe. And things in Zon are objectively better. Like, would you rather the freaking enforcers just stomp all over the place in Zon? Oh, hi, South Africa again. Apartheid again.
If his people are kept out of Piltover's streets, so will Grayson not send enforcers to the Undercity. But that status quo benefits Piltover far more than it ever did Zon. They are the ones who live in squalor and misery as Piltover prospers at their expense. And
No, because Zon can self-enforce now. Zon is free to basically self-govern. The enforcers don't need to be down in the streets enforcing the law. Zon is free to enforce their own pseudo-laws. The reason why the divide happened the way it did is because of this. There was effectively two governmental bodies going on simultaneously. And do you know the governmental body that ruled Zon? It was the Chem Barons. You know who could have probably ended the Chem Barons? The Enforcers. But you don't want the Enforcers on the street because the Enforcers are icky and the bad guys. So pick your poison. Do you want police or do you want drug lords?
Yeah, and even then, like, yeah, of course, you know, given where the Zonites live, of course they live in squalor, you know. I'm sorry, they can't pull a Shapiro and just sell their houses and move, guys. I'm sorry, there's no Aquaman here. But, like, fact of the matter is, okay, so now you're complaining that Piltover isn't giving away, I don't know, some land or housing that they can use that would be better than where they are. Aren't you the same person who complained earlier about them being the ones to decide that Zon can have their independence in the first place? What happened to that?
And if one incident involving destruction of property was enough for that deal to come undone, how shaky was it in the first place? Sorry for tying everything.
What? Wait. You mean an explosion? A fucking explosion that takes out an entire apartment? What the? Yeah, of course that's going to be noticeable.
Yeah, that could have killed someone. In fact, especially given the fact that, like, it seems to have been the what was it? Basically the most major
changed element in the alternate universe. Yeah.
Yeah, well, not even just that, but like just the most significant event that happened between when, you know, Vander and Grayson had their deal and between where the story started. There didn't seem to be any other like big upsets between Zon and Piltover before Vi started doing what she did.
Oh, God. Oh, no. Don't invoke this lady. You're not going to like what the theories are going to be.
Back to A Song of Ice and Fire, but I cannot help but see parallels to Daenerys Targaryen's tenure in Slaver's Bay. As she launches an anti-slavery campaign in Astapor, the chaos it results in causes her to seek a fragile peace and compromise with the slaving elite in fears of what more violence would entail. There we also see how the peace undoes all the progress she so desperately fought for. Slavery returns to Yunkai and Astapor, and all slave-based entities on the continent seek out her destruction. That is because, again, nobody in the world, nobody in history, has ever gotten their freedom by appealing to the moral sense of the people who are oppressing them.
Okay.
No, from like what I understand about that situation was she didn't build any foundation to replace the slavery.
Yeah.
Which
You
is the
need to
problem.
actually have a
Yes.
replacement for the labor that is lost.
Yeah, because that's basically the primary thing, you know. That's I mean,
Not to
we were
mention,
talking about America.
let us remember that the overarching plot of A Song of Ice and Fire is the encroaching hordes coming from the north to wipe out all the humanity, and that it's going to probably unite everyone together against them at the very end of the story. That's the running theory.
Yes.
Now, season 8 didn't do that, but season 8 also isn't the actual story. It's not the books by no one liked season
George
8.
R. R. Martin.
Yeah. We don't know what George is going to do, but that's a very likely possibility because everything else I understand about the book is leading towards that conclusion. That you need to unite humanity together, you need to put past grievances aside, and you need to work together to stop the bigger threat, which you're probably going to be disappointed with whenever that fucking book comes out.
Dude, which is gonna happen? The Song and Ice and Fire books finished or One Piece finishes?
One Piece finishes.
One Piece finishing. Because I'm pretty sure that they've said that Oda has said that he's nearing the end of it.
Yeah.
I believe, from what I can tell, like this isn't the first time he said that, but you know, there might be the case.
He has said that he
we
only
entered
wanted
the last arc.
Yeah. We entered the last arc. And he basically said that he was only going to do One Piece until as long as he was interested in doing it, and it seems like he's kind of burning out of it.
It has to end with fire and blood. Zone.
Okay, but weird that the person that emphasizes that the most is Mbessa, and she ends up being the main antagonist. What's that about?
Yeah, seriously. Also, Omega Rob says, no, I'm guessing this is about Daenerys. She started her tenure as Queen of Slavers Bay by picking one dude out of each of Marine's most influential families and crucified them, instantly creating a blood feud. So what you're saying is that this can potentially bite her in the ass.
I was going to say, like, I know that Game of Thrones is far more complicated politically.
Yeah.
But like the main reason why slavery in specific went back to the area was because she didn't do anything to make it less appealing to have slaves.
Right. You know, it's sort of like I sorry to interrupt. Is it a super chat?
No, it's
sorry.
Not. It's not.
Okay, so it kind of reminds me because I guess a peek behind the curtain that is Kaiser shown in a little bit. I had to write a senior paper, and I wrote a senior paper about the connection between redlining and health disparities in urban communities. So the reason why redlining was so bad, for those who don't know, it was the thing in the 1930s. Homeowners, companies, and fair offices basically graded different neighborhoods and cities across America to see which ones are, you know, essentially worthy of more federal loans and aid and other resources, right? And the ones that are D, just so happen the ones that are rated the lowest are just so happen to be the ones that have a lot of black people in it, crazy, and poor people and Hispanics as well. So, of course, redlining got abolished around 30 or so years later. But the thing is, the neighborhoods didn't get better for a very, very, very long time, and arguably still hasn't even to this day. Because when you have a place that has been deprived of essential resources for so long, what investor, even the ones that aren't necessarily like responsible for any of that conflict, what are they going to think when they see a neighborhood that is just severely run down? It's not going to be appealing to them.
You've also got the question of like gentrification pricing people out of their own houses.
Exactly. Yeah. It was housing segregation. It's fucking insane.
Have a right.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, remember when I sent you that article, that I read a while ago about how Americans don't move anymore,
Right.
and that they had, like, during the start of the 20th century, that people moved around all the time, and people were prosperous because of the fact that they were able to freely move around into whatever house that they deemed desirable, regardless of the price.
Yeah, because the price was often much more manageable.
Yeah.
Well, also, like, if you I think that this was specific in New York, but also other places had done this, but if you just wanted to pack up and leave on, like, moving day, you can pick literally any other building that had an empty space in it and just go there, regardless of how much it cost.
Yeah, I still don't know how that works, but like I'll take the articles.
Yeah, I would need to look into that.
It's such an interesting and alien concept to me now, but like that could just be
Yeah.
gone.
Yo, back then, you can pull a Shapiro and just sell your house and move.
Yeah, and like, the article was talking about how nowadays, because of different regulations, some of them racist, some of them classist, some of them accidentally meant to protect history and local neighborhood culture and all that kind of stuff, led to an instance where you can't really move around anymore and improve your life because of it. Like, if you wanted to move from a shitty neighborhood into a better neighborhood, you can't do that as well as you could 100 years ago anymore.
Right.
It's just not possible.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Freedom by appealing to the moral sense of the people who are oppressing them. It has to end with fire and blood. Zonists have a right and a duty to resist their oppression. They are not just as bad as Piltover if they fight back. They did not start the cycle, and them fighting back is not perpetuating it further. It is an attempt to end that cycle.
And you know what happens? They perpetuate it by trying to end it with violence. Who'd have thought?
Crazy.
Jesus.
I wonder what could have predicted any of this. The beginning of the fucking story.
Yeah. Are you literally 5 years old?
The self-sacrifice of one mentally ill teenager who lost everything is no solution at all. It is baseless scapegoating.
No, that's not the solution. Jinx dying didn't solve anything.
She pulled a Michaela. She just pulled a Michaela.
It was all of Zon uniting to assist. It was all of Zon rushing up with guns blazing to fight back against Mbessa and the fucking machines. That was what helped solidify it.
Yeah, it's like, and also baseless scapegoating. It's baseless to capture the person who fucking blew up the council. And also, but it's bad because she's mentally ill. Can we just stop? We need to fucking stop. Listen, as a guy trying to go into the behavioral health field, it's time to fucking stop with this bullshit. Just because someone is mentally ill does not fucking exonerate them from whatever crazy beyond the pale shit imaginable. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, no.
Like, this is loaded ass language to basically give, I don't know, some sort of sympathetic stint to Jinx's actions. Like, as a narrative, I empathize with her character, but as a person, that's completely different.
Yeah. It's very harmful in the sense that she's trying to say that one of the reasons why she did nothing wrong is because of mental health.
Have you guys watched Arcane Season 2 and the dangers of Snow Bunny mind control yet?
I've seen like the first few minutes of the video. It seems to be a positive video towards the the episode 8 of Arcane season 2. So it's like whatever.
Sorry, Twi, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's fine. Yeah, my basic point was just I feel that minimizing someone's actions because of their mental health is a very slippery slope and a dangerous one to go down, and I think it's very irresponsible of her to do that, especially because something's because of that happened recently in Vancouver, where 11 people died, and you're not going to just let that guy off scot-free just because he had mental health issues.
You still put him behind bars.
Yeah, exactly.
And the problem that we're facing is specifically that we do go lightly on people with mental health issues. We don't really treat the issue. We just put them in jail or in a home for a while, and then they go out a few weeks later, but their underlying issues aren't resolved. And this guy had a history of that, and nothing was done about him, and now 11 people are dead.
I mean, yeah, just on a, I guess, more smaller example, which that's already horrible enough. I mean, we have Chris Chan for a reason.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Like, we would listen, in a just world, things could have been done to prevent them from becoming what they have become. And I feel like this speaks to just how bad we kind of need to actually refocus our understanding of how to treat these issues. What does that even mean?
I fear that Grippy Socks jail can't fix this one, fellas.
No way.
That's a way to put it.
And worse yet, it confirms all of Jinx's fears. That yes, it would be better if she wasn't around. That yes, her death is what grants everyone happiness.
No one even fucking seems to care. We don't get enough of an epilogue to understand what caused the shift in the uniting of it, but I can understand, hey, you guys charged into battle and literally saved our asses at the 11th hour when we needed you most. All of Zon came to rally behind our fucking city. Maybe we should respect you a little bit more. Oh yeah, by the way, there was that one girl who led the charge in the blimp. That was kind of neat of her. Thanks. Did she die? Yeah, she died a hero. Wow. I meant she was kind of a prick, but I'm glad she helped.
She did something, right? Yeah. But it's like, and also she did this willingly. She did that willingly. The thing about her being a Jinx or whatever, that was more so in response to how other people will be willing to take advantage of her or disregard her talents or her worth as a person and just say that she isn't worth anything, that she is just better off gone. But in regards to saving Vi, that is a willing choice, not because, she thinks she'll be better off without her, but she just simply because she cares about Vi. There's that bit of nuance there that changes that dynamic.
That is right, Rival. Never wear the medallion. That is the truth. Never tempt fate like Muda did, like Nick Ricada did.
Oh yeah, 100%.
While the unification of Zon and Piltover to fight the common enemy is admirable on some grounds, it rings all that more hollow when you consider that Piltover gets scot-free of all the violence it unleashed on its sister city for hundreds of years.
Okay, elaborate on the specific instances of violence. These hundreds of years, you apparently know them. Elaborate. You're not going to elaborate? Okay.
And Sevika becoming a representative of Zon in the council means nothing.
No, it means a lot. It means a fucking lot.
Yeah.
You are just never satisfied with anything, are you?
Why do you say that Sevika being on the council means nothing? You have to specify why.
Well, let's see.
Do you know what a stepping stone is?
Although again, I think the writers wanted us to believe otherwise. She has no allies in Piltover, and she is still looked down upon as a Zonit. The future of these two cities does not look bright at all.
It is
I'm sorry, do you just expect freaking classism to just blow away like the wind?
Yeah.
Overnight.
If anything, this is one of the more realistic elements of the ending. I just wish we got more information on it and we got more out of Sevika leading up to this. Like, there is a lot about this that I actually really love. I would have liked to see the Bat person from the, whatchamacallits, the Firelights on here as well. But, like, the idea that they would not be a majority, they would not have real power necessarily, but, you know, gradually, over time, they would make decisions and choices. They could actually... Here's the thing. Being on the council allows you the opportunity to do what Jace did. Remember, Jace was not very well liked on the council either. He was seen as the upstart. He was seen as the person that was ruining everyone else's business because they were all fucking criminals. And then he started playing the political game and he became the most powerful counselor in the blink of an eye. Like, literally in the span of, like, 2 days. Again, that's an issue I have with Arcane Season 1, but... The fact of the matter is, political power can shift radically. And if Sevika can offer them something that no one else can, she's going to be able to get leverage to make things happen that she wants to happen. That she is there is a massive shift of power, even if it doesn't seem like that. You don't need to be allies to agree with something.
Yeah, if we're talking reality, let's talk reality. You can't just say, because you can't just invoke real life examples of these sorts of conflicts when it's fucking convenient for you. Again, I just point back to the apartheid thing. You think America just did that overnight because they didn't want to oppress black people anymore? Absolutely not.
The ending of Arcane, although meant to be read as bittersweet, is just fully bitter. The moral of this story told in Season 2 is that the oppressed must give up their lives, hopes and dreams for nothing in exchange to end cycles they didn't start, and that the people of Piltover...
But the people of Piltover at this point didn't start it either. They are a different people than the ones that probably started, if they were even the ones that started it at all. So, who the fuck are we blaming right now?
Should get away with the violence they unleashed on them and reap benefits of treating them like cannon fodder. But once again, if someone hits you 10 times and you hit them back once, you're not as bad as them. You do not engage in the cycle of violence.
Yes! You do! Yes, you do. And it also matters if they are actively hitting you. Like, that's also an important part of it. Oh my God.
You can't just... say 3 weeks ago this guy hit me, so I'm gonna go and stab him in the gut.
That's how you get gang violence.
Yeah, it's how you get fucking Columbine. What the? I'm serious. Fucking listen. Jinx didn't just hit back. She caused 9/11. She caused 9/11. Can we just stop, please?
She caused multiple of them, ultimately.
Yeah.
Like, really, of the things that she did, the killing of the council was the lowest kill count she had all season.
That is also true. And also, she smuggled drugs, which actively made her city worse. By your admission.
Your cousin's a dummy, Phoenix. Yeah, it runs in the family.
You defend yourself. You try to end the cycle.
Self-defense and retaliatory violence are not the same. You gotta be careful.
Yeah, for real. Also, Eric Romer says, Kaiser, 9/11 was bad. Okay? Brave take,
Cold
I know.
take.
Brave take.
It's me, Lois Griffin. 9/11.
Cycle of violence unleashed on you.
Oh.
Irrespective of all this, I do not lie when I say that Arcane changed my life. It remains a beautiful story with beautiful characters and stunning visuals. I will always affirm that, irrespective of my issues with the direction it took in Season 2, It was a story worth telling. And not all of this happened because of malice. Aside from Christian Link though, I kinda don't fuck with him still. The real unsung heroes of all this are the animators, who sacrificed so much to create this masterpiece. They were allegedly sleeping at the studio and would not see their families for years to create Arcane.
Fucking really?
What?
Yeah,
What?
can you cite something for that, please?
Yeah, can you cite that? Because
Like, I won't necessarily
months.
completely
I could
disregard
see
that,
like
but-
a month at a time. That's like strong, like a pot of strong coffee there, but understandable for a lot of animators. You know, maybe a
But
couple of months
years,
at most.
though.
But years? Are you talking like collective time?
Wait.
Yeah.
Sorry. What was going on?
Hey, I'll roll back.
It crashed for me, so I wasn't able to hear anything.
Oh, basically, the real unsung heroes at this rate are the animators who sometimes wouldn't see their family for years to create Arcane.
Really? The source for that?
Yeah, we were asking the source on that.
Yeah,
Oh.
dude, lightning in my hand is all like mistaking Arcane animators for Rooster Teeth animators.
Like, I'm sorry, but like you,
this-
like, is there anything where it said that people had to come from other countries or other parts of the country in order to come to the studio, and they couldn't leave and go back to their families? Their families didn't come with them in order to get this done.
And maybe
Yeah,
there was just
like-
like one really dedicated guy that just decided I'm like he did a hyper autism and he just like I'm gonna do it for a year and a half and just work like that maybe that's what she's citing, this one specific outlier.
I mean, maybe, but like, it's so weird at how she is willing to cite a bunch of things near the beginning of the video, but she's not willing to cite this.
It's very weird because you would think that if these animators were living near the studio, like some animators do travel overseas specifically to work at a specific studio for a little while, and yeah, they don't see their families, but that's not specific to Arcane. But most animators kind of live locally in the area because that's where their jobs are.
They typically go home to their. I mean, even if they were living at the studio, sometimes they still probably go home on weekends.
Yeah.
Like, look, animators can pull some insane shifts, but not seeing your family for years, that's more indicative of your problems with your family, bro. Maybe you don't want to see your family for years at that rate.
Yeah, or you know, maybe you're in like a sweatshop or so. I don't know,
What have
man.
I missed? Dude, I
When did you leave?
When did you leave?
Are the animators, who sacrificed so much to create this masterpiece. They were allegedly sleeping at the studio and would not see their families for years to create Arcane. I saw people on Twitter claim that there was some possible disagreement between the writers and the animators, for the visuals do not always align with the story, and I suppose that this is what happens when you pair a French studio with an American writing team. Say what you want.
You'll get an extended, like, 90-minute sex sequence that you don't need.
I mean,
That was
what-
probably
what?
specifically done by the French studio.
Yeah, I was about to say, and also, I mean, we had a similar length sex scene in season 1, so you know, gotta keep up tradition.
But that one had a little more
Right.
point to it. Anyway.
I mean, fair. I'm not going to say that, like, yeah, that one wasn't
Lightning.
unnecessary, but like at the same time.
Man, my wife cheated on me while I was on deployment for years. Damn, were you stationed in Afghanistan? No, at Fortiche Studio.
Want about the French
Middle of the recap, went for a walk, lol? Dude, you need to watch this VOD. This is an insane video.
Yeah, the dog. That must have been a long ass walk.
It was like, what? No, yeah, that was like 2 hours. Dude,
Yeah.
did you walk
Dude,
like
we are
6
making
miles?
great time in this video. We've been gliding through this shit.
Yeah.
but they have revolution in their blood. They are going to throw bricks at the police whenever they are even slightly inconvenienced, Whereas the Americans feel like revolution and revolutionary violence, or even being slightly inconvenienced due to protests and resistance, is worse than genocide.
We have the right to bear arms enshrined in our main political document because we love rebellion. Just because we don't light our country on fire every 50 years doesn't mean we don't still have that. We literally went to war with ourselves back a while ago, all right? Like,
also, who the fuck is saying that doing protests or violent protests or even just, I don't know, light inconveniences is worse than genocide?
yeah, what the fuck? This feels way too stereotypical. What the F? Yeah, Izanagi, we're right there with you. That's just...
dude,
Yep.
this is insane.
I'm sorry.
Right now.
I guess it's because the French are only known for fighting with themselves and not with anyone else.
I am far from the only person to express disappointment at the series' direction, and one thing that kinda pisses me off is how people blame the audience for the show not meeting their expectations, and for having expectations that would never be sated.
Is it people telling you that you're fucking insane for your takes on fucking rebellion?
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I'm not going to say that. And also, wait a second. You're distracting me. You caught me monologuing. Who the fuck are you talking about?
Oh,
like,
shit, yeah.
Yeah, like, again, it's vague posting bullshit. Every fucking YouTuber keeps doing this. I can't yell because I've been told not to yell. I gotten a message about that. Every other fucking YouTuber keeps doing this shit. If you want me to believe what the hell you're trying to say about a large group of people, cite your shit, for a love of God. Oh my God. Like, who the hell is saying that, oh, you guys who are shitting on Arcane or whatever, had these expectations that weren't met, are just whiny because they didn't have the story that they wanted instead of enjoying what they have. I'm sure there's some people that say that, but to say that there's like a growing number of people, overwhelmingly, the series has been pretty freaking mixed, to say the least, especially online. Like, what
like,
are
to a
we
certain degree,
talking-
I've said stuff like that, but that's more because people do shit like what you do, and they hype the series up to the point where nothing that they would have done would have been good enough, instead of just taking it at face value and then looking at the flaws but also the what it did right
And
for
also,
what
you know,
it is, not for
and
what
also
they
you-
wanted it to be.
You mainly push back in, like, you know, like specific instances too. Like, you've made plenty of concessions throughout our coverage and vice versa. So it's not like it's like, oh, you know, you're just blankly saying that you guys will never be satisfied with anything, okay? You know, like, and just leave it there throughout the whole thing. You don't just go, nuh-uh, right?
Yeah.
You actually flesh out your point. We talk about it, and we either agree, disagree, or agree to disagree. So it's like, what the fuck does that have anything to do with your crazy ass saying that, you know, blowing up the freaking council is the right thing, and people in debatably saying that people in real life should do the same thing when in a city conflict? Again, let's not forget, this isn't fucking Afghanistan right here. We're talking a city or state conflict right here.
Yeah.
You have to conduct these things drastically differently.
Civil conflict
can't
is not
go-
the same as international.
Yeah, you can't treat this the same way that you would treat fucking fighting the Principality of Xeon. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, for one, you're actually fighting humans.
What? Oh, so okay, spacist.
Wait, is Xeon Earth or is Xeon Spacer?
Xeon is space.
Yeah, like I said, we're fighting Xeon. We're not fighting humans.
That is, no mainstream production would ever become this popular if it openly glorified the revolution and resistance, even violent resistance, but that is not our fault. The expectations were there because they were placed there. In complete isolation, Season 1 tells a story of oppression and resistance. It is only reasonable to expect a story to follow through with the elements it establishes. All art is...
It's not about resistance, so...
I love how just because the opening had elements from Les Mis, that means that this person now has the expectation that it needs to follow everything thematically that Les Mis was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is just all kinds of really dumb.
is political, and art is often made to be a tool of propaganda.
No. I'm
sorry.
Thomas the Tank Engine is not political. A fucking drawing of a duck is not political. Art need not be political. And when it is political, it is better to be agnostically political. What does that mean? It means demonstrating, like, no, we're going to get. I'm too tired to get into this argument. This is a whole conversation for a different day.
Basically, what we're saying, it boils down to is you can have politics in your art. It's not required, but also if it is, it can be strictly within the narrative without having to say something in real life.
Yes.
But it also can do that. They're not required. It is not required that your politics in your animation, if you have it at all, has to reflect real life.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, this is the issue with both this video and Michaela's video on Arcane, honestly, and I stated that, like, they're treating the conflict between Piltover and Zaun the same way as you would treat a similar thing in real life, when the historical context and the materials and resources and people involved are drastically different.
Remy, you don't know how many POWs Thomas the Tank Engine was ferrying in the 1940s. I didn't even talk about that.
I indeed can't name a mainstream production that would 100% follow through with the endorsement of resistance to oppression. Even The Hunger Games has its faults in that regard, with how by the end the true villain of the story is one of the revolutionary leaders who just wants to grab the power for herself and is actually just as bad as them.
You mean just like Silco?
It's almost as if fucking revolutions can be corrupt. It's almost as if the people who you think are the good guys can be just as prone to the vices of humanity as everyone else. It's almost like we're humans.
Should know this. Lady, you should know this. You're Russian.
Yes!
Oh, God. I wasn't gonna go there, but now that we're here, I mean,
the Soviet Revolution thought they were the good guys, and they started disappearing people very fucking quickly.
But that does not mean that we should accept this state of things as a given. It does not mean that we should not demand better stories. And, most importantly, it does not mean that we should eschew the resistance in real life.
You're asking for basically fantasy. Yes. Ironically.
Yeah, for real. Honest to God.
When I say that Jinx did nothing wrong, I actually mean that she should have sent another rock. No, in all seriousness. While the only thing I could criticize Jinx for is the aimlessness of her violence, the impact of her actions does make her an agent of resistance. And the disappointment...
No, it doesn't. It does not make... She would have to be intent. But she didn't have intent in rebellion. She is not an agent of resistance. She is an agent of chaos. She's an agent
of emotion. And chaos, yeah.
Like, that's literally her thing.
Like, I'm sorry, we spend a good chunk in the story in this chick's perspective. How do you not know this?
Yeah, Alex Tatakai says, good media with politics tends to be nuanced and asks you a question where you can come to your own conclusion. Yes!
Yes.
Good media about politics
That's
makes
facts.
you think about the actual situation as opposed to
Yes.
delivering to you an answer for it. It might say, hey, here is a solution by the end of the story, but it will have room enough to say whether or not something was good or bad. Who was good or bad in Arcane at the end of season 1? There's a lot of answers to that. So many answers to that. I love Silco. He's an amazing character. He's not a good person. But at the same time,
like,
he's a good father.
Yeah, and he's not some pure-hearted, revolutionary. He was also in it for his own personal gain. And again, as you stated in this video, he did things that made the lives of the people that he was supposedly liberating worse. But it's fine because it's virtuous drug dealing, guys. It's virtuous. Look at Tony Montana. He's giving crack to the poor and the needy.
Disappointment many fans felt with the show abandoning this plotline is fully warranted, and it did make the story suffer. It is also just tiring to see the same exact scenario play out in all the stories. Actually, the oppressed are just as bad as the oppressor if they resist. The narratives of cycles of violence don't work precisely because the oppressed resisting should not be seen as perpetuating cycles of violence.
But no, it's a reflection of reality.
Yeah.
You can't escape it. You want to know why you can't escape it? It's because it's the truth. I'm sorry. Go look in a mirror. You are the cycle of violence with this ideology.
Like, dude, what? You keep referring to history when it's convenient. Why? I mean, I know the reason why. It's because you have an agenda. You have the particular view of the world that you want to project onto the media. You want to force that in there because you want a precise, you want a precise answer to all of these questions. But the problem is that doesn't exist. But we, as artists, can only put to paper what is reflected within us. What? And if that ain't gonna happen anytime soon, then it is what it is.
Rival, you are absolutely right. This has a lot of strong. Walter White was just a small independent businessman. Good guy for
but as an attempt to end it for good. Well, I can only hope that the Noxus series is gonna be better. Thanks for watching. Remember that if you like my content...
Oh!
Hey, lady, how about if you care about starring a revolution so much, how about you pick up a gun yourself and see what happens?
Please don't encourage her, Kaiser.
No.
I get that it's a joke, but like, I really we disavow.
Okay.
Disavow.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's fine.
I'm sorry, that was a much. That was much.
No, but like, absolutely, it's a good question though. Like, why aren't you? Why aren't you picking up a rifle? It's almost as if violence has long-lasting ramifications and consequences and will come down on you. If you fire a bullet at someone, regardless or not if they were your oppressor, they are going to fire back, and you don't want to risk getting shot, now do you? And that's the reason why. No one wants to get hurt. No one wants to get the people they love hurt, and it makes for a very complicated situation when you want to get out from under the thumb of an oppressor. Or is it an oppressor? There's a question. Maybe you were responsible for your own fucking making. You don't know. I don't know. It's a very complicated situation, and we don't have all the full details. You are presuming so much here.
Of course, this is slacktivism. Instead of actually doing anything, because if she has these fundamental beliefs, right, she's wasting time talking about in a freaking YouTube video about a cartoon.
Jake Batterson, she sounds like Tally from Mass Effect.
But still.
I feel like that's an insult to Tally from Mass Effect because she at least learned.
Whoever she is, I don't know her.
Oh, you don't know Tally Zora? Oh, Tally's like
I never play Mass Effect.
Oh, you would. It's good. It's good. Mass Effect.
Yeah, I heard really good things about it. I'm planning on getting into it eventually, but
eventually. All right, so let's wrap things up. That was a woof.
But we got that pretty quickly.
that might be the video where I was like the most low level, like my lowest was at a constant mad. Like I didn't get super angry at any one given point, but like I was the most angry at a high level, at a moderate level the entire time. Oh,
Right.
Guys, don't commit violence. Offer the olive branch. Turn the other cheek. That sort of thing. Oh. So
And
did we
also
learn why a
watch
cycle's a
Arcane
midnight
more than
very
once.
No, we learned why she wants a revolution but doesn't want to actually do it herself.
Yeah. It's slacktivism.
Yes, exactly. Do either of you have anything you want to announce?
No.
In my case, I'm about halfway done with the video that I am making, so I should be able to put it out over the course of the next couple weeks. So hopefully y'all can stay tuned for that. I was originally planning on maybe streaming on my channel this weekend, but plans have changed since I have to celebrate one of my friend's birthdays this Saturday. Maybe I'll find something to do this Sunday, who knows. But the video is top priority right now, and hopefully I can get that out for you guys. I know it's been content dry for a bit, but I really appreciate it. But I will recommend that you guys watch the collab between myself, Serial Naval Gazer CBF, Bio Gundam, and of course, Periodic Pete, where we have our discussion about
Season one
the
was a
Devil
solid
May Cry
show.
anime. It was a good run. We had a really great time just talking about the show and its faults. And I suggest you watching on Pete's channel.
Alrighty. So, Twi, nothing?
I don't really know what I'm going to do. I have a lot of things that I have been neglecting to do. I need to do them. I'm going to probably finish the things that I can more easily get done before I start getting back into the cycle of streaming again. Especially since I'm still trying to figure out whether or not I should try to buy a replacement screen for my laptop, or if I should just bite the bullet and buy a new laptop. And just try to salvage whatever I can from this thing. Because right now I'm using my TV as a computer monitor. But I'm gonna do that, and then hopefully maybe in the next month or so I'll start streaming again. And then probably get back into video making myself.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Meanwhile, still hard at work. Fixing RWBY is deep in development. I have a trailer ready to release soon. It's going through some final review. But it'll tell you guys the announcement date. So look forward to that. It's coming out soon. Then we've got MHA I've kind of stalled out on. I've been taking new medication, and every time I try to edit, and this has been for Fixing RWBY as well, every time I try to edit, I get really sleepy. It's really weird. Like, I actively start to fall asleep while editing. So, gonna have to try and figure out how to balance that out. Let's see, what else do I got? Streaming, again, Bad Fanfiction Night on Fridays, 10 p.m. Still continuing Shadow the Conqueror, which, a lot of fun. Will we get it before GTA 6? You will. You will. I think even before its original release date. And then, let's see, finally, we'll be starting some point in the very near future a tabletop campaign on Saturdays. We'll be streaming. It'll be bi-monthly, or I guess semi-monthly. Twice a month. We'll be having streams on Saturday, doing the tabletop campaign here on the channel. It is going to be exciting. I'm doing a lot of unique, fun stuff for it. Been preparing for a very long time. That'll probably be within the next 2 or 3 months, maybe sooner than that. We'll see how things roll out. But yeah, look forward to that. And I think that's everything I have to say. Support us on the Patreon, support us through the memberships, support us through Super Chats, support us through everything. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll catch you all on the flip side.